know. I think it's a very difficult subject, and I think it's more personal. Like, I probably don't face as much racism because I adapt to the society that I live in, maybe. That could play part
point
in
being that it's not a a hot nugget, is it? It's not the race thing isn't a boiling pot in London.
Not as much anymore.
We cut off 37 seconds ago.
Yeah, it looks like it just died.
Oh, thank God. I was tying myself up in all sorts of knots.
For what it's worth, I started again. So it says we're live now. My OBS was completely red. Everybody's stream was buffering. I don't know what the hell is going on tonight.
Yeah,
because it's green now.
It's like the Sita and Roxanne effect, isn't it?
Seems to be.
Have that effect.
Everything is back to normal. I'm running full green lights. Everything looks good. It was like bright red when we started streaming.
Yeah, I got you live here as well. I've got you live right here as well. It's all good.
Nobody knows it's there. They're finding their way over. It's a different link. It's not the same link.
Did it switch links? That's garbage.
Oh wow.
Helpful.
Wow. Interesting.
Well, my sincerest apologies. I guess we lost a bunch of people, but the people that do follow us will be able to actually watch it better now with no freaking buffering and stuttering.
And we put a link in the old chat room. A link to the new.
Nice.
I don't have the old one open anymore. I closed it. Now when I go there, because it's closed, it doesn't come up. So if anybody has it open, drop a link in.
Probably get it, I think.
Coolio.
So here's this, and I come back here.
This whole thing just strikes me as staged beyond belief. I mean,
it was 100%.
Yeah.
For me, I think, and this was the last one I filmed as well. Yeah, I remember this was the last one I filmed, and it really did seal it. This whole the movement has been hijacked, if it was ever a real movement. But it also highlighted that it was either an attempt to start what's going on in America, or they were definitely training and getting ready for the next.
Just for the media,
for the real one. I don't know.
Out of everyone else. Well,
now, were people protesting Corona before No.
Do you know what? Our movements have been like the protests. We had one protest about Corona. That was way back. I can't remember. Was it the 16th of May or something? This way back when I think it was the day after they relaxed the lockdowns and said, you can go out only in a group of 2 from the same household or something. Yeah. But there was a little crowd that turned up. So that was the only anti-establishment, I would say, protest we've had.
This is why I think it's so important to see how many of them are wearing masks, because it's so different to the first crowd you were filming there. It's like you say, it seems more like an identity hiding than an oh shit, I'm going to inhale some bullshit virus.
Well, to be honest, you know what? I think they wanted these protests to happen. Okay, this is only from my observation, but when I've seen what the police have been doing and watching what they're doing within the protest, they seem to be filming a lot of people. And could it not be a case of they're trying to capture people's faces testing out gear or testing out tech? This is what it feels like. They're doing some sort of testing of some sort for something else.
Yeah, facial recognition with masks on or something along those lines. Yeah, no, that's an interesting, astute observation. Definitely. There's something going on. You just can't put your finger on it, though, can you?
Yeah, there'll be a part that you'll see where they've got a camera out and they're blocking the crowd from, getting through when there's literally nothing going on the other side.
Yeah.
But they're stopping the crowd from getting through, and then you'll see them with a camera there capturing everyone's faces, and then all of a sudden, oh, okay, you guys can go through.
I'll tell you what would be interesting would be to sidle up to one of these mask-wearing protesters or whatever and just say, you know, sort of just spark up conversation and be like, you know, have you been paid yet? Because mine only came through 2 days ago and it was only 600 quid. And just see what they say, see if you can get any of them. You'll probably get beaten up.
I don't know. You'll be. I'm pretty sure there's some that you can definitely strike that conversation up and get the response
get the real dumb-looking ones and just sort of sidle up to them and look official and act really confident as well. Or say, you know, pretend you're one of the organisers or something. Just that'd be hilarious, wouldn't it?
Well, there was something interesting that the Really Work show pointed out, which was to do with the migrants that are being allowed by French army. French army are allowing migrants into like UK waters. I think there's some sort of deal.
They're doing illegal handovers.
Escorting them in, aren't they?
Yeah. So I didn't actually put two and two together until I obviously tuned into their show. But when you look at some of the people so for example, this guy right now on the screen with the shorts and the cream top and the blue hat, he's clearly by himself and I would say he's a migrant.
Yeah.
And then another thing is when you look, I don't have the footage of the people who got beat up, but I have the footage of what happened afterwards and all this kind of stuff. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's these guys have been paid to get beat up, because you'll see in the footage all these the parts where the fights happened, there was no EDL, the opposing side, if you want. They were not in this movement. They weren't at all in my footage. So you can't sit there and say that there was an attack between EDL and Black Lives Movement, because it can't be. It has to be these guys, these random people sticking out like a sore thumb.
Maybe just talking to any of these people, see if they're actually English speaking, you know?
Yeah. But
you're right, they could all be you know, imported and paid to do what they're doing.
Well, it definitely made sense. You know when you're sort of doing research and you come across someone else's work and it's something just clicks. It's like, oh my God, that makes so much more sense. And
like flat Earth.
Definitely a lot of aha moments with that one. A lot, way too much. But yeah, and I felt that when you've done a couple of your shows, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even think of it in that sort of perspective before.
It's strange, isn't it? When you start seeing it from what's going on behind the scenes like that, you start seeing it's almost like this is a spillover of what's been happening. Like, where are all these people coming from? Same people that have been trafficked into the country through the lockdown.
Yeah, and I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah. It's been happening internationally.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And
Noel told us he saw the people getting moved about in Malta as well. He said that people had seen people down in the docks getting moved around there as well. So
and even me filming this, if you hadn't had that conversation on your show, I wouldn't have put two and two together to figure that part out. And this is what I love about, the work community. And that's why I'm just so glad that I went out and filmed this to just capture this and hoping that
you'll see
this
guys
footage
how manipulated this is.
It's priceless. This footage is priceless. It really is.
Yeah.
So this is the footage from the mainstream media's perspective. So this is
the street that Sita's on.
So I'm just literally behind here.
See that scaffolding? Do you remember we showed you the press that were underneath the scaffolding?
Yeah.
Literally in front of that scaffolding there.
Can I just check, Josh? Are we streaming or whatever?
Yep, everything's green and golden.
Cool.
Looking good.
And then they showed that side, but I'm in the middle here of what's going on.
Right, so this is mainstream, isn't it? RT, Rupley or whatever.
Yep.
Now what the media have done here is one of their smartest moves ever, right? The disorientation flex.
Total cut and
right?
edit.
People don't know where anything is now initially.
But I'll show you where what happens here. But this is not from that part.
Yeah,
it's not the
this
same.
is what you need to say. No, please say this is a disclaimer.
This is back at Trafalgar Square at a totally different time, and I'll show you exactly when. But it's not from that clip they've just showed.
Very different story, isn't it?
This is the guy that got beat up. He's not from Black Lives Movement, and you can see that.
And by the way, they didn't show you the guy that picked him up and walked him out of there. The dark-skinned guy that picked him up and put him over his shoulder and took licks himself for removing that guy out of harm's way. Media didn't want to show.
They didn't show you that either. Oh, you should have got that.
We can. We'll just stop this and we'll go back to Asitas. And while we're playing Asitas, I'll get the other footage that we're just talking about as well.
So, you could see what the mainstream media were trying to portray, but as you could see, they were running basically back into the same protesters. There was nothing going on there.
So here she is. The cameras are down there now. See where this zone ends thing? The cameras are way down there behind these officers chasing it all up here. And can you see these officers to the right? This guy's got his hand in his pocket. He's like, oh hello, what? And look, this one here is inciting it. Look, he's telling them to put all their fists up. Look, he's already here, telling them to all do this. This is crazy. Nuts. So
you see, he's like, we'll stand our ground. And I'm like, stand your ground to who? What, the police? So, it was so bizarre just being in that.
And nothing came of this.
Nothing came from this. Zilch came from this. When you watch it back, you're like, okay, cool. But when you're there in the moment, I was thinking something's about to kick off. I was thinking there's going to be like a big fight or something that was about to kick off, but nothing happened. So what was the point of this? I don't know.
It was an optics exercise.
Yeah.
Purely for the news. Orchestrated news.
I was surprised that they let me in here and just walking around.
This woman staring at you like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so, and this officer is trying to tell me to get out. He's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, no. He's not an officer. That's not a real police officer.
They're all press.
If that was a police officer telling me to get in there, there's a difference between saying get in there and saying, do you want to go in there or do you want to stay where you are? I'm sorry, Kenny. So all of these here press in the corner. All of these here.
That
press.
cluster of people there under the scaffolding. All not getting a shot because they're on the wrong side of the shot. That's the shot. That was the money shot on the other side. They can give much better optics. It's all too controlled on this side.
Yeah. Go back a few seconds as well, I think. Yeah. Go back underneath that scaffolding. I think I just spotted something. This guy, is he the one who was covered up because he's all in grey?
This one?
Yeah. Him and the ginger head.
Yeah.
He's got the same colour clothing, but he's obviously
now he's uncovered.
He's uncovered.
Yeah.
Because they disappeared, and I don't know if that's his friend there in the corner.
I remember seeing that guy in the white top in another shot as well.
So that's what I'm saying. These guys, you can spot them, and that's what gives it away for me. If I saw them once, then you can probably put it as a hunch. Yeah, look, he's in grey in the shorts. That's him. That was him. I just caught his face. So again, I didn't spot that before until I'm reviewing the footage as we are.
He's back there, got a bottle of water. He's just relaxing. He's taking a break.
Yeah,
he's off the clock right there.
He was the one who was orchestrating it and said, they're here. Like, who are here? So, really, again, bizarre behavior. But after about 10, 15 minutes of what they wanted to do, the crowds were allowed to go back in. Like, they were letting people through, as you can see, telling people, go either that side or this side. And that's pretty much what happened. And then, this guy doesn't even look like a police officer. He looks a bit confused. What's going on there?
All the police look like extras, apart from the white hat guys.
Yeah.
all the others look like extras. Their helmets don't fit. They're all in little skimpy jumpsuits, and it's just.
I mean, like this guy in front of us here, his outfit doesn't fit at all. But it's the look on their faces that tells me that they're not real police officers. Yeah,
when, he's all wide-eyed and like a deer in the headlights.
That's the look.
It's like he doesn't even know what's going on.
There's a lady at the grocery store. She's the security guard, and it says you have to wear a mask and this and that and yada yada yada. I've never worn one. I walk by her a couple times. I even talked to her today. Never even mentioned mask to me at all. It's like, and you can see it in her eyes. It's like she looks away when I look right at her and make eye contact.
Nuts.
They don't want to have the conversation. They don't even want to be there.
Because we all deep down know it's bullshit, or I hope people do.
So on this part, you remember I was telling you about the guys, the police with the camera? So you can see this guy here in black with the orange tips on his shoulder. There's no reason for, like, I'm on this side, so obviously nothing's going on. But for some reason, they're blocking the crowd and getting the crowd agitated.
I could be mistaken, and I may be, but that guy next to him that's not holding the camera with that backpack, that looks like a drone backpack. It looks like a special drone backpack that I've seen before for us. I don't know if
that's
it's
what I was trying.
But that's a company that does filming. That's why that guy has that stick to look over the crowd, and that's why the other guy's got a backpack with a fucking drone in it, because they're there to film. They're not police. They're just filmers.
So this is what I'm saying. This is why it felt really bougie, because, you can see they were blocking the crowd were getting agitated, rah, rah, rah. And then they let them through after a few images caught.
I mean, not being funny, but are you sure there wasn't a film being filmed here? Like,
probably,
V2 or something,
Give it 10 years.
Vendetta 2.
If you see some of these scenes in a movie, then you'll know.
I think you will. The whole thing, it just looks ridiculous.
This is for their history documents.
And you'll even see some of the crowd. Look at this guy at the front, like, talking with the police, like, hey.
And 99% of them have got masks on now.
Yeah.
Look at these guys. You just spot someone without a mask. That guy there with a fag, he's normal.
Honestly, I just don't know where. I definitely know that probably about 90% of these people were paid to be on here, but you can see nothing happened. They walk back into the square.
Yeah. And did the press report violence or that sort of thing?
You saw what Roxanne just showed. So I'm just about to show you where it all kind of kicked off. And to show you that, so here, this is when it kicked off. You see when the crowd are running through. I'm on the statue. I'm like, oh, what's going on? But this is when the guy got beat up. And you can see it was a totally different timestamp. So it's like the mob just jumped, a couple of the guys through the mob just jumped him and beat him up, but it wasn't the opposing side that they try and portray.
Yeah, where are all his mates?
That's what I'm saying. He was by himself, a single.
And the guy who picked him up and dragged him off was some sort of major bodybuilder, and he had knuckle dusted, reinforced gloves on, and reeks.
Really, honestly, just very bizarre, odd behavior, while on this side, everything's normal, nothing really major going on. So, like you say, I wouldn't be surprised if you see this in a movie somewhere. So at this point, I'm following the crowd. We're heading towards Waterloo. I think you'll see, where is it? I'm heading towards Waterloo here at the bridge. Again, I have no idea why the police let them out into this part of the town when they were blocking them before, but for some reason they decided to let them out and follow them. So, where is it? At this point, we're getting into Waterloo. The crowds start running again. No idea why. So I just follow them.
Have you seen many other versions of this with other people with phones and stuff on YouTube or anything? Have you gone looking for it?
I've seen some footage, but again, it's not.
Because surely most people should have their cameras out, be looking. I mean, you know, when a bunch of people start legging it across Trafalgar Square, everyone's going to have their bloody camera out on it.
Well, I think Roxanne, this is what she's looking for. But we did capture. So when the crowd were running, you can see the police are just coming up here. What they were trying to do is, this is where I need to pause. There's a part there at the beginning when the crowd started running. Someone did get beat up, but I obviously didn't capture that. This is when I was just coming in, but you found a video footage, so she's still looking. But I'll just talk you through this little scenario. Or did you find it? No.
Got it.
I mean, a lot of us have seen that footage of the guy.
So it's literally here in the crowd here. This is where this guy gets beat up, and then the police, circle him until the paramedics get there.
Yeah.
I didn't know someone got beat up at this point, so I wasn't really bothered with trying to capture what was going on there. I was just sort of filming the crowd. But here is the second agitator, which is the guy I showed you with the hat that I thought was covered up. This guy. Yeah. That guy. You'll see him again a few times, really heavily involved with telling the crowd what to do. How do you get rid of this circle? My dodgy circle.
Clear.
There should be a clear all.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Oh no, clear. Do it again, and then it says drop down, clear all drawings. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, him again. You'll spot him a few times.
I think I found that backpack. That may not be the one, but it surely looks like it. The one I just dropped in the chat here in the Zoom group.
What that backpack that they carry?
Yeah, that weird shaped, very distinctively shaped backpack. It looks like the same shape. It may not. It looks bigger to me, but it's not on somebody's back, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, you'll see in another footage where they again same camera kit and guy stood next to him with a backpack.
And it could be a camera backpack. I just thought, let me go look at those. That might be what it actually is too. But it just felt like a drone backpack the way it was shaped. Just so strange.
I think those hard shell backpacks like that are getting to be
hard shell,
a popular thing.
That's what it's felt like. I just hadn't come across the right one yet. That's the first one that looked like the right shape that had a drone.
Yeah, I think you can buy just an empty backpack, just a normal backpack, but as a hard shell.
Well, it was a hard shell.
He had orange lapels on it as well. There were two of them with orange lapels on, the one holding the camera and then the guy behind with the backpack. So I imagine he's the battery camera, the spare camera, battery packs. I
don't know. It just seems like a big battery pack to carry, considering like you're not there for the whole day. So it's not like it's either you're capturing really high tech, you'd have to be using some level of, in my opinion, to have that size of a battery pack. Because if all you're trying to do is just capture people's faces, you don't need that, I don't think.
I think it's probably professional photographers still. They've just got really expensive equipment. So they buy a really expensive case that they can carry on their back to protect all their cameras, their lenses, their batteries, their battery packs, all those things that they need to carry with them.
I don't know, even the camera that he's holding isn't that, it's not a jazzy camera. It's just a, standard kind of shoot and go camera that most skaters would use. The camera that he's using doesn't look that high tech. That's the part I'm confused about.
Well, that is unusual. I don't know what the hell, maybe it is a drone.
I don't know. It's a puzzle. We need an officer to kind of tell us what that is.
Do you want to play on still?
Yeah, no, I'm just highlighting that he's you can play on, but you can see that this guy, again, he's there in the midst of it at the bottom. And I didn't spot him last time, but it was see him just coming down here, you know, look, it's like trying to tell the crowd to go this way. And this guy with a hat as well was at the very first protest.
It looks like whatever they did planned turned into a hot mess.
Yeah, it didn't go to plan, put it that way.
So I wonder how easy it'd be just to hijack a big group of people by pretending to be in charge.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean,
just start yelling, "They're out this way!"
Come this way.
Taking them all back the same way they came.
If you can if you can get your frequency right, you can do it. It's just all about how your energy comes out.
That's the part I found. So you can see that they were split because he was telling people to go this way and he was trying to take them that way, but the crowd also split. Sorry, am I going back? I'm going too far forward. Yeah, these guys. This guy was a bit bougie with his solo flag carrying in the red backpack. Wherever he was is where this crowd followed, is what I would say.
What was on the flag?
I don't know, Unite. You can see he's there at the front and then the crowd are busy doing something and then they walk away.
But notice he's not carrying the flag anymore, it's someone else.
What's it say?
No, it's still him.
Oh, that's for a coffee shop by the looks of it.
I think it's still him, I'm pretty sure.
So these guys are black jumpsuits. They're
real
fitted.
Real police officers.
They've got the same blue helmets, but yeah, they look more the part, don't they?
Yep. So at this point, you can see that the police are surrounding that guy to make sure that he didn't get beat up. But and then again, at this point, the crowd are going through towards. It's like they've been ushered into a direction, but the police don't follow them at this point. The police just leave them alone, and not much happened afterwards. So we're heading up to, what's this section called again? Embankment or something.
Just by the Thames, near the skate park on Embankment.
Yeah, so as you're heading towards the river, this is where the crowd were heading. But the police weren't following them here. There was no reason really for them to be going this way.
Right.
And then at this point, again, I think they tried to start a commotion here because you can see the crowd starting to jump around. I'm not sure if someone was supposed to get beat up here. Probably, I don't know.
This guy's standing there cold as brass though.
But again, you can see our little planner here talking to some of the guys. Here he is.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I'm saying. When you see them too much in the camera, especially the way they're interacting with the crowd, that's, for me, what gives them away.
It's mad.
So again, it's just, they're just standing around, and that was the only little bit of commotion that happened. And then he decides to put a mask on for some reason. And that's...
it's like people watching though, isn't it? It's like you look at all these different characters and you just think it doesn't look organic at all.
No. And there's your friend again in the crowd.
The sign just said silence is violence. Push her down to the ground. So what do you call that?
It's quite a powerful shot. Sita just stood here. Not me, you know, not me.
At this point, I was at the back of the crowd and they stopped for some reason and then turned around. I was like, oh shit. So I just froze. That's the best description. I froze.
Note the amount of masks again.
You got yourself.
There she is. So and at this point, it felt like they were just walking around. They weren't.
Wow, he was being given alcohol.
Yeah, and look at him.
I didn't clock that first.
Look at him.
No, hold on.
Yeah,
that's not an energy drink, my guy's getting.
No, it's alcohol.
He's getting one of those little cocktail cans out. Wow.
And then the guy behind him is down
That's alcohol. Yep. Wait,
they're all licked. Look at the guy behind down in the bottle of vodka.
Oh my days.
You know.
Oh my. I thought it was energy drinks.
But
to begin with.
It's fucking zombie mass zombie walk is what it is. I mean, it's the irony is we're protesting as we wear our slave mask. It's so
that's what it was, and you saw that there wasn't an opposing side at all. The people that did get beat up were random people in the crowd.
Yeah, I've got that guy that we spoke about as well. Just give you a snippet of this. It's quite interesting because certain news agencies went down a certain narrative, but on this one, you get to see a little bit of a different aspect of things. Obviously, we're not going to try and show you an advert because that would be absolutely rubbish. But this is a Black Lives Matter protester who was injured while carrying that said man to safety. So I'll just share the screen. It's literally just a couple of minutes. And you'll see, this is the gentleman that we were talking about anyway. Yeah, you may as well see that bit there. There you go. Can you all hear that?
Yep.
I know, I think this is the guy.
The biggest thing for me was making sure that no harm came to him, because I knew if harm had come to him, the narrative would just be changed, and then the blame would fall on the young Black Lives Matter protesters. There was a bit of a melee on the stairs. The guy ended up on the floor, and these guys rushed in to stop him from getting trampled. In doing so, they created a barrier around him, and I was the last one to come in. I scooped him up into like a fireman's carry, and sort of marched him out with the guys around me, protecting me and shielding me and protecting this guy from getting any further punishment. Although they'd been called off, he felt that there would still be trouble, and that that we need to go there and be overseers of the younger generation to make sure they didn't get themselves in any bother. I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking of, a human being on the floor. It wasn't going to end well had we not intervened. And that was it. I had no other thoughts in my mind apart from getting to safety. You have to show some sort of, love for your fellow man, okay, regardless, because I was saying that if the other 3 officers that were present when George Floyd was unfortunately murdered, if just one of them had stepped in and stopped, their fellow officer from doing what he did, he'd be alive today, and that's what we did. We stepped in and we stopped this man from coming to some serious harm.
The Sita's making a really good point here, everyone.
So this shot that they're showing of him carrying the guy out from the crowd is actually a different place to where
they're claiming it to be. So because that was at Waterloo Station, this is a little bit further on where I was showing you they attempted to start. Do you remember I was showing you the agitated scene and it seemed a bit bizarre? Yeah.
This is where this was.
Yeah.
But that,
and as Sita's saying, if this is all entirely true, then why manipulate it like this?
Because I didn't see that, and you saw the crowd didn't.
Yeah.
This might have happened maybe later on, because I said the crowd were getting agitated.
But even still, it's not the incident they were trying to make out.
Yeah, it's not the incident that they're trying to make out. So wow.
So we thought this was worthwhile showing because there is it's almost like they popped a counter narrative in there real quick, should in case.
So yeah,
but that
was one of the footage.
Sorry, I'm all muted up. Don't mind. I'm trying to get there. No, that is amazing. That is definitely didn't do our Tuesday show justice. That is insane. I bet you that energy is just palpable.
I was buzzing. Like I had to go out at 2:00 in the morning and go for a ride just to still calm down.
I bet.
Because it was so surreal. It felt like did I just go through that? Did I see that? Did I just,
certain parts of your footage, like that drone footage, like you weren't even on the ground, like you were just flying through. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was just grateful that I could even have that opportunity to have been there, and see that sort of BS in real life.
You've managed to let us see that as well, though. You've managed to let us see through the narrative that's being told. Like it's almost like the moon landings, right? They're trying to make out it's going a certain way. There'll be a part of that generation that'll go, it didn't quite go like that, actually. I know they're trying to say it happened like that, but funny you should say that. I had some people that were on the ground and they were kind of there, and everyone goes, yeah, sure you did. Yeah, sure.
That's it. That's why this is so priceless. It's it needs to be encouraged. Anyone grab a GoPro and just go.
You're living proof of that.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then done. You didn't fight it. You went with the page of turning and going to a new chapter. And where you've embraced it, you clearly have a talent for it.
No, honestly, thank you. It was just pot chance that I happened to be there, but I honestly think if it wasn't for me coming into the truth, meeting people like Roxanne and learning the stuff that I've done over the last 5 years, I probably wouldn't have had that sort of courage to be out there observing that kind of stuff and wanting to show, like, capture what I did in order to show you what's really happening. I don't know. I didn't even plan to sort of film like that. Where I was actually going to capture almost bit by bit, frame by frame of what was going on. That wasn't a plan. It just happened to be how I was filming.
It's almost like an artist, like at a canvas, and then creating a picture that really does give the full picture, and then the artist sitting there going, it's not what I intended to do when I approached the canvas. I just wanted to give a good
I was
vision
going to paint this, and that was that, and then that's what happened.
Look what we've been privy to. We've been privy to what we've just seen, and everyone, I just want to let you know that is just one of the amazing videos that's on Sita's channel, which is Goddess Nut on YouTube. There is a multitude of awesome videos, and you know what, if you are into what she said she's on, which is that awesome wheel, she's taken some incredible footage on that as well. If you go back a few months, just before the lockdown, in fact, right?
Yeah, because I only started learning how to ride one of these about 8-9 months ago, so it's not even that long. And my intention on starting the YouTube channel was for electric unicycles, to give you a perspective of what it's like having them in your life and how handy they are. And that's where I was actually going with my YouTube channel.
Disclaimer. She's like, I think my channel's taking a bit of a different direction now.
But yes, something else just took over and just said, nope, that's not what you're going to do with your channel. This is what's happening. So I don't know where it's going. But definitely this year is a time, I think, where is there a saying of woke report, like, what is it? Where the public are the reporters. Yeah. We are the news.
Citizen journalists.
Yeah, citizen journalism. Yeah. Now, everyone is a journalist. If you think about it, you just researching into the truth makes you a journalist.
Yeah.
So I think it's like our human duty to show
what's going on,
what's really happening in your countries so that everyone can pick apart the lies. Because I said, and it's not until I communicate with yourself or watch a video of, you know, something that you guys are talking about or look at someone else's channel that I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense now to what I just witnessed.
Connect the dots, doesn't it? And if everyone gets involved, it makes it much better.
So, Sita, have you got over 1,000 followers yet?
We're trying to get there.
No.
We're trying to get there.
Okay, so anyone to this sub up, because if you get 1,000, you can stream live, can't you? And that's probably the safest thing for you to be able to do.
Yeah. She's like, you cut out the editing on that one. That's good.
But you know, you'll be able to just tune in and see what's really happening if there was anything.
Live on the wheel.
Yeah, live on the wheel.
She's out on the wheel again. She's live. Yeah, especially for those that have missed London and haven't managed to get over here for a while and haven't managed to get to the city for a while and want to see what's really going on. You definitely are able to give that really real aspect of it. Really real.
I mean, even just going back to normality, if you want to call it, there's a lot that's changing that I'm seeing from the start of lockdown to what it's like now. There's a lot of implements, you know, just things are just changing.
Little changes,
So it'll be interesting to see how the year plays out. But you know, for you guys in America, again, what the media and what social media portraying America to be is a war zone.
Chaz, or is it Chop? Did they change their name to Chop?
I prefer.
And then back to Chaz.
I think
did they actually do that?
I think it's now the self-proclaimed autonomous zone.
Oh God,
that's so embarrassing.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of spazzes. I'm pretty sure is how that works.
Go to the spaz zone.
A lot of people think like the states is at war with each other, like everyone's fighting. It's crazy. No,
we yield the floor.
No, sorry. I was definitely.
I was busy trying to get a link and drop it for you. My bad.
We're busy subscribing and link dropping for you.
No,
I was subbed since last week when she was on our show, so I was playing catch up for sure.
I just subbed. I had to
get over there, sub, man. I know there's at least 47 of you that can get over there right now and sub. At least
we have a lot of wind happening right here, and I am pulling down the gazebo right now.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, storm is coming.
You need to binge watch after
the storm left me and went to you guys.
Binge watch. I'm just gonna give you a little hint here with the Sita's channel, right? Goddess Nut's channel. If you go and like fully binge watch and go back to like a few months ago to the uni wheel content, some nice tunes of that content, man. It's good. It's good binge watching material. So definitely just put it on autoplay and just go through it all. It's brilliant.
No, I mean, I like to promote something that I think is quite useful and beneficial to people in their life, and the wheel has been. It's definitely been my savior during the lockdown. I think if I didn't have that and not being able to access transport as easily, especially if you don't drive, and just being able to get out, you know, the fact that I was doing like maybe 20, 40 miles in the morning and then 20, 40 miles in the evening just meant that I was able to space out my day and not be cooped up indoors the whole day. Yeah, like, you know, some of my neighbors for the whole 3 months barely left their flat. And
how much does a wheel cost?
They range anywhere between 400 to, with the recent ones that have just come out, just over $2,000 now.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean they are expensive, but if you're all right, put it this way: if you're someone that doesn't drive, you look at how much you expend on travel and the hassle you go through when you use public transport. The wheel eliminates all of that. So if you can get over the learning curve, you've got something there that you're not going to regret as a purchase. I'm not into material goods whatsoever, but that is one thing I'll say that has been so convenient in my life. So,
has it made a positive change?
Massive.
Are they light enough to pick up?
The bigger ones, are heavier, but I'm not a big girl, and I'm carrying one of the ones that are quite heavy. So
I was shocked.
If I can manage it, I'm pretty sure majority can. But again, they've got handles. They're really convenient, and I'm hoping that.
Do you know how many kg it is? No?
22.
22?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 22 kg.
I don't know what that is, but it's heavy.
It's like a real heavy microwave.
But it's it's good exercise, and I rarely have to carry it other than when I'm going up a flight of stairs. Mm-hmm. That's the only time I have to carry it.
Yeah.
So
it's got the little handle, hasn't it? It's got the little walkabout.
So it's like carrying it's like pushing along a suitcase. It's got a handle, so you don't have to carry it. It fits anywhere. It fits underneath the seat. You can take it on a train. You can take it on the tube. There's nowhere that you can't take this thing, So I'm hoping that I'll do some more videos where I can show you the convenience of it.
Man, I wish they had those things when I was more. I just don't want to fall and break stuff anymore. I'm getting older. When I was younger, I would have been all over it for sure. But yeah, now that I'm 40, it's like, ooh, fall, break my arm. That was done.
Like climbing trees, Zach.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this the other day. We just don't do that stuff anymore. Climb up a tree and tie a rope to another tree and slide down it with a belt. I'm too old for that. I can't do that anymore. But no, it sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun, but hopefully you'll see in the videos that I make in the future the convenience and how stable and safe it is. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's very rare that you're going to fall off this thing unless you are, as I say, doing some serious off-roading. I mean, I've gone through some potholes that I should have definitely crashed and burned. If I was on a scooter, I would have crashed and burned. If I was on a skateboard, definitely crashed and burnt. But this thing just took me right out of that pothole, and I was like, oh, I survived, and just carried on riding.
We need Barclays to rent these things out, don't we?
No.
Instead of their silly bikes.
I mean, there's a really cool clip, actually, I want to show you of the future of transport. And these are kind of featured in...
Yeah, you can share the screen if you want. If you want, guys, just tell me where to look.
Oh, yeah, just carry on talking while I look for the videos. I have to find it.
I dropped a link to the channel in our show description as well. So if you somehow missed it in chat, get over there and sub to Sita. Do it. Do it.
I don't know if it will be on YouTube.
All right, no worries. Just send me the link and I will pop it in there. No worries.
But I know it's in here.
No worries.
It's basically like a concept of the future of transportation. And I honestly believe now that I've seen this wheel, maybe in 50 years' time, this is what it's going to be like for commuting.
Nah, you've seen Idiocracy, haven't you? We'll all be sat on a little floating sofa.
Actually, you know what? Segway have just brought out this new, I don't know what to call it, but it's basically a chair that you can ride. It's like the gaming chairs.
Like a wheelchair?
It's basically like a gaming chair, but you just sit in it and then you just control it and ride through the city. That's what most people, the lazy ones, will be riding.
Idiocracy, yeah.
But we're moving that way. Trust me.
Man,
not for $2,000, we're not.
Well, the one I got, that was the 1300, so that's a year's travel for me.
Yeah, that's a rail card, isn't it? Basically, so that makes sense entirely.
Yeah, I mean, if you order it direct from China, no issues. You're going to get it cheap. You're going to get it cheap. Basically, if you buy it locally, you're paying for the insurance and tax, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need insurance on these things?
I'm sorry, not insurance, warranty. Sorry, my bad.
Warranty, right? And you don't need tax either, do you? On these things.
You know what? It's massive in the States. You guys have a much bigger community there than we do here in the UK.
I'm sure David Weiss has got one. It's bound to.
David Weiss?
Yeah, he's bound to have one, or several, no doubt.
Possibly. It'd be interesting if he does.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, he does parasurfing, and he's got a boat, and he's got the drones, and he's got everything else.
Got all kinds of toys. Why not that one?
Yeah.
Well, if not, it's something you need to introduce him to because he's missing out. You might be able to do quite a lot of cool things with it.
I bet he had rollerblades and everything. I'd like to see his gun collection. That's what I want to see. Anyway.
So we've got about 10 minutes before we hit the 2-hour mark.
Okay, well, it's proven difficult to find this because it was in a group chat a while back, and I'm scrolling through and it's not easily found.
Worst case, we'll send it to you guys in Skype.
Yeah, and then you can share it in the community from there if anyone's interested. But yeah, it's just it's a really cool concept of how the future can be without cars. I find cars dangerous. I don't like cars.
I concur. Speaking of David Weiss, I think he was just on Beth Martin's channel today.
Is that who Hurt King's hero was this week?
That's it. Earthly Passions of David Weiss. 6 hours ago, of course, while I was either doing show stuff or getting sleepy and going to nap. For this show stuff, one of the two. Anyway, I missed it. Darn it. I will go play catch up. But yeah, she had David Weiss on just a few hours back. So
awesome.
Can I just take the opportunity to laud you, Josh, Walt, Cammy and Zach, for all the hours you put in on this show and your other show on TFR.
Don't say that. Don't say that. That's horrible.
I don't think you've ever missed a show, Josh. Maybe once, but
people are going to wonder where the hell all this time and practice goes and why the fuck I can't get sound right. My OBS keeps dropping frames and crashing on me. Don't tell them I spend all this hours doing this. They'll think I'm just stupid.
Well, considering the hours you spend doing this, I don't think you fuck up as much as you provide decent entertainment to your following. And I'm really pleased to hear that you're actually getting donations and stuff now, and you're using that to improve the show and everything else. And on that note, I'll shut up.
No, I do appreciate that, John. We do love it. We thoroughly enjoy it. I'm not very good at it. I'll give you that. It's like singing. I'm not a very good singer either, but I do enjoy belting one out on occasion. So I really enjoy doing TFR shows and coming here and hanging on with all you fine people.
Not good at taking compliments either. As a rare one you'll get from me there.
No, I do appreciate it, and I apologize.
Truly, thank you.
I suffer from a crippling low self-esteem.
No, I just think it's brilliant. I honestly, I do. I'm your biggest critics, as you know, and I'll tell you. But I just think you guys rock, really do.
Thanks.
And we've been joined.
We certainly have. We've been joined by the one, the only, the great Baldini. Welcome back to the Have No Sphere, right here on Iron Realm Media. Just a reminder, not only on YouTube, but on DLive, and also streaming right now via Periscope on our Twitter page, and also on our Iron Realm Media Facebook page. Look at us go. And I almost forgot, as of today, the Iron Realm Media Twitch stream as well. Look at us go.
We're twitching.
And I'm transmitting it out Morse code from my end. So there you go.
Sweet. Can I get a copy of that?
Nope. I'd have to kill you.
Can you beam it over to me in like a ticker tape or something?
We'll talk afterwards.
All right, good enough.
Baldini, how are you? I'm not sure we've spoken. I feel like I know you, but I don't think we've spoken.
He's making a rookie mistake. So my voice is gone. He's on mute. Baldini, come back.
Actually, it's
hey, there he is.
There he is.
I'm here. Hey,
beautiful.
I was trying to put up a little icon or something there. Just joining in. I was going to.
There's something going on with it today.
I was just going to sneak in and be quiet. So.
My follically challenged friends. I lost my voice, but welcome in.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure having you, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I sneak around and listen to you guys in the background. Sometimes wave hi in the chat when I get a moment.
You're amongst fellow follically challenged people here, don't worry.
Beautiful.
Indeed you are. With the exception of Walt with his beautiful locks. Cammy, of
hair
course.
farmer.
You don't count.
It's a wig. It's a wig. We all know it.
Estrogen.
Oh my.
No, actually, you came in at just a perfect time, talking about how many things I screw up repeatedly when it comes to trying to do shows. And apparently communication is another one. It gets really hard when you do 3 different shows a week, plus you have like a midweek meetup with the guys to talk about one of those shows. And you're dealing with all these different time zones, and it gets really goofy. So I apologize if I screwed up and misspoke somewhere, and we got wires crossed somehow.
Oh, could have been the midweek thing. I had it as AM instead of PM, and I was back doing a Poppycock report with Rose 777 as we do on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and somebody was at, or I think it was Secrets of Saturn. I can't even remember now. And somebody said, "Oh yeah, Baldini's on 7 times a week," and I was like, "Hey, yeah, I know I'm everywhere, but not that many." And then I put it on my calendar so I could share it with my wife, so she would. And I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm doing 7 shows a week."
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, it's pretty nutty, and that's in addition to just like a regular day job. So it does keep the plate spinning pretty hard.
Well, at the very least, I hope you can kind of take an eraser and just kind of erase one of those checks out and not really count this as like a show per se, but just kicking back, spending some time online with some friends.
Time with friends.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little bit of fellowship, and I love that. I have come to find that the people that, many people I met through the Awakening Project and people who have responded to that, and then when I began doing a stream weekly, the people that show up and kind of, I call them, the usual suspects. Whenever they show up in the chat, these are some of the finest people that I have interacted with on a regular basis that I have ever in my more than half century in this realm interacted with. They're amazing people, and I'm delighted to be part of the community.
And I guess we are sort of part of that community by proxy because there's so many crossovers. And Nemo is just one of my favorite people. It's one of the highlights of my day when I get to see a little voice message left on Skype from Nemo. I have to sit down and prepare myself and get all comfy. I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and really enjoy this one because I thoroughly enjoy getting them.
Yeah, he sends me little voice messages, about once a week or so, and it is a highlight of my day as well. It always puts a big smile on my face to hear from Captain Nemo.
So we've just been sitting here hanging out with the really woke Roxanne and her basically just her neighbor, Sita. And Sita's been out on her electric unicycle, just buzzing around out amongst protests and.
Yeah, I caught quite a bit of that actually, and very interesting. How she had pointed out that they were as contrived there as they certainly seem to be here in the U.S.
Right.
But that she was pointing out that she thought that that they were testing something, right? For example, testing facial recognition or at least biometrics, right?
And then some, yeah.
Yeah. So very astute. Yeah, I was paying attention.
Yeah, and definitely some sort of police training if they were real police or something, I don't know. But yeah, the whole thing was bizarre and
something was afoot.
Yeah, and it was the last one I filmed. So until the next time,
Yeah.
something
Not
will
if, when.
when the next one happens.
But what I think
we've been joined again.
We have been joined again.
Wow.
Greetings, everybody. Red Fox here.
Hello, Red
Hi.
Fox. This is an absolute pleasure. I've been dying to have you on. I've been
Everyone's
meaning to
jumping
reach
on
out.
now.
So it's an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure's all here. You got a great bunch here. Josh, you're quite good at what you do. Walt, Cammie, her reputation precedes herself. Everybody watch the damn video now.
Welcome. We're glad to have you, friend.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and there's also really kind of nothing, when you think about it. Like, we're living in a realm of complete and utter deception everywhere.
It is a bit of
a lie.
Based on a complete and utter lie.
Yeah, so Black Lives Matter, right? I mean, are they talking about the color of the skin or the quality of the soul and the spirit?
Oh, snap.
Wow.
That's almost as good as the one I coined earlier this week, is that, hate speech is not speech that's hateful of others, but rather speech that they hate. So, yeah.
That's really good too. Yeah.
Shout out to Megsy. She should have her own channel with all of her stuff. She is like a wealth of information, but there's a lot of people that just don't want to speak, and including Mark Bloom. And then also Janet. I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork, and if we hadn't shared our email addresses, we would never know. So it's really, really crazy, isn't it?
It is. In fact, I heard Roxanne say that if she hadn't listened and it put something in her head, she wouldn't have been aware of it. And I was thinking, man, that is so true. That's exactly, Cammy and I had that discussion last week on my channel, Unintended Consequences. And we started talking about different things. And when we got to the end, my mind was just blown. I was like, oh, okay. And I spent about 2 days of very little sleep and doing all kinds of research, rocks and crystals and all sorts of things. And then Mark Bloom sent over another document, and I've slept very little this week. It's pretty mind expanding, and that's even without drugs. It's pretty weird.
We got some Brits in here too. Hi to you guys. I wasn't ignoring you. I love what you're saying. I love the way you say it, and I love your dialect and your accent. But everybody can't be a cowboy, right?
Likewise, Red. Everyone over there sounds like a movie star to me, anyway.
Really?
Well, you just got great. No, not you lot. You're the Brits. I'm talking about the Yanks. They've all got great microphones, and they're all really deep voices and really well spoken.
I have to push my levels up just a touch. I feel a little overpowered.
And you're the best.
I like it though. It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
And what's hilarious, John, is early on we were all thinking, "Oh, we have to have John and Rob on, so we have those awesome Australian and British accents, because that sounds really awesome and intelligent." We had a plan. We knew what we were doing.
I don't think anyone tells me I've got an English accent or anything. I've got sort of a mix of everything.
Definitely a twang in there, a mix.
Yeah, he's AI. Don't let him fool you.
I'm still learning how to speak.
Are my levels good, by the way? I didn't do a sound check, and I'm on my iPhone at the beach, just making sure it might come through.
You sound great.
Okay.
How could they be anything but perfect under that condition? So no, you do. You sound great.
Okay. Thank you.
Am I really to believe you're sitting on the beach right now, just chatting away on your iPhone microphone?
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm on the beach, and I've got the little the little headphones. Yeah, there's no EQ, gate,
I was gonna say,
compressor. There's nothing of the sort. No.
Bloody hell. What beach are you on? I mean, don't have to tell us specifically what beach, but in what area?
Oh, I know a compression when I hear it, John.
It's the beach in my mind.
That kind of beach.
Nobody can touch it.
That's it. Shell beach.
Oh, mine.
Yeah, Shell Beach was the right answer for that one, by the way.
Yes, indeed. I couldn't find my mute quick enough. That was awesome.
I wanted to just say real quick how awesome it was to be able to get and look at this footage, because I got to talk to Roxanne and Sita on Tuesday. So I got a pretty good vibe for what was going on. I've been, sort of a protester once upon a time, and I kind of knew what the vibe was like. But to get in there and see the footage, that she's out there on this little electric unicycle, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow with these people just zipping around. It's amazing, because the footage you're getting, even tonight, you're going through and finding new things. I bet you could watch this footage another dozen times and find another 24 things that you didn't see before that are completely just insane.
Every time, we spotted who the guy. The amount of times I've watched that footage, and I didn't realize he revealed himself when he stood in that corner. And that when we watched it live now is when I just clocked it. I was like, oh my god, I didn't see that before. So every time I look at the footage, something reveals itself, and I'm pretty sure there'll be more.
Well, that is a testament to your proximity and the quality of what you're doing out there. So hats off to you. It's very, very courageous. I appreciate it.
No. Yeah, I agree.
No, thank you. And I have to thank you guys mostly, the woke community that gave me that courage, because without people speaking out and saying and having the courage to even speak about this stuff, someone like myself would have still been probably naive to life in many ways. I think I always knew I was different as a kid, no idea why, but I'm just glad that I was given the mind to be skeptic and listen to other people's opinions rather than what narrative I've been always taught. And it's been a blessing for me to actually see all of this stuff. There's so many people I speak to in my life that have no idea what is going on. There's a couple of people during this pandemic that I've shown a couple of things that they had no idea about, that they've woken up to. Without the woke community, there are people like yourselves who've been doing this for years and years. I think that's probably what gives a lot of new people who come out with new concepts of things the courage to get out there and do something. Citizen journalism. Yeah.
Well, it's very important, to the point that it's it is the only occupation here in the United States that it's constitutionally protected.
Mm.
It's the very, very First Amendment enumerates that, yes, here in the States.
For you.
Mm-hmm. Not in Canada either.
Well, I think the stuff you're doing is fantastic. I hope to see a lot more, and please don't get yourself into any dodgy situations.
I don't know. Like Cami said, I think there's something about riding an electric unicycle that gives you a bubble.
I think you should, don a blue jumpsuit and ride it with a helmet, and I don't think anyone would touch you at all. I think you could ride straight into the MI6 building and no one would ask you anything.
You know what? I might be able to get away with it, because it's either the shock of they've never seen that thing and they're like, what is that they... I don't know, they all of a sudden... It's like a
Terminator coming over the horizon. They're just like, well, they've got to be with us, or they've got to be with them, or something. It's like, geez, I haven't seen anything like that before. She must know what she's doing, because no ordinary person would jump on a bloody mono wheel and spin around. I think it's fantastic.
Guys, I'm going to leave a seat here. I just need to run out the door quickly, but I'm going to leave a seat here with you, but I'm going to love you and leave you now. I've just got to handle something with my daughter. So I'll say goodbye now, but I'm leaving the seat here on the mic. I've just got to handle something with my daughter. Thank you so much for having me.
Roxanne.
Hi, Roxanne, sweetheart. It was so good to hear your voice again up close and personal. Let's talk sooner than later, honey.
Yes, my darling. Right back at you, Walt and Red Fox and Baldini and Josh. Love you all very much. Thank you so much.
Rock.
It's a pleasure.
And nice to meet you.
Sita, you too, my darling.
Leaving me so low.
That's it. I'm putting her on the block now.
You're safe. We don't buy.
If any technical issues happen this end, don't expect me to save myself. Don't expect me to save myself.
Technical issues.
No, I should be fine.
Blame Iron Realm Media if anything technical goes wrong. It's normal. But Sita, correct me, I don't know anything about these sort of things. I've never looked them up. But can you buy drones that you can send up and they follow you or your phone or anyone?
That's years ago they've been doing that.
Right. So that's what you need. It's like three drones or something that you just send up. Then you go in on the monocycle, and you've got these three protected drones. Like, oh man, that'd be mental.
Well, you know what? The drones are really cool, but at the same time, you need a clear air ground. So if you're in the city and you've got like lampposts and sort of wires and stuff in the way, you can kiss your drone goodbye. But the next best thing I would say are the 360 cameras. They give you a very drone-like footage because of the design of it. It's a 360 camera, so the stick itself you can't see, and if you have it high enough, it feels like you're like a drone is following me.
Yeah, we've heard a thing or two about 360 cameras back in the past, but I was thinking maybe a drone or one drone that is literally prone to stay over your head and film you.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Anyway, but you will have to crowdfund that. But it's been awesome. Sita, loving your footage, and really.
Yeah,
cool.
the main thing is, Sita, is that you shouldn't be the one driving the drone. And the other thing is, I think at least on the unicycle, and I imagine it's the same, that people are kind of nervous to come up in a hostile or stopping way because they think they'll make you fall off. So it's kind of another way of it buffers you. When you're on one wheel, they're curious, and it's like, if I like say something to them or like jar them in any way, will I tip them over?
Also, the police won't come anywhere near you because they couldn't even follow you on foot, let alone on a mono wheel. They'd be way out of breath, and they'd need far too many donuts.
The wheel goes 31 miles an hour, so unless they're like
how fast?
This one specifically goes, the top speed is 31. Some of them go 45, 47.
That's why they don't touch you.
Yeah.
They got no chance.
No,
that's almost as fast as a horse. That's like a horse.
Well, I honestly, I'm thinking at some point the police are the ones, they're going to have to replace the horses and jump on them. Really, horses are a bit outdated nowadays.
Well, they've still got them around though, haven't they?
Well, I mean, if the horse was chasing me, I'd definitely outdo it. Just with agility.
Just wait until the horse is like super high tech in a few years. It's coming.
Robotic horses that can fly.
Yeah.
Transformer horses or something.
So here, I got something here I just wanted to play real quick. I really got a kick out of.
And it has really bummed you out. Now what? Breathe. Relax. Let go. Everything is upside down. Can you change everything? Start with yourself. Challenge yourself. Gratitude is fearless. Red Fox.
Nice.
How awesome was that?
World. Dominated by poppycock.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Fox.
Hey, no, you're welcome. That was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, more to come. You know, and this stuff isn't for everybody. That's why we have as many subscribers as we do. But quality over quantity.
Yep.
So I say,
Red Fox, I think this is the first time I'm speaking to you.
Yeah, you're right. I'm brand spanking new. I've still got the placenta attached, which I highly recommend. Highly recommend it. It's wonderful. I've been batting it around like a rattle. That's disgusting. I'm sorry.
I've heard worse. Don't worry.
Yeah, I've been waiting to speak publicly for 11 years. Yeah, I've just been watching, doing research, all this, and I hate that I have to remain. Yeah, go ahead.
then he heard me and he said, well, I could do that way better than him.
And he does.
No way. I need everybody. That's part of the message tomorrow. We all need each other. But I just can't disclose what my background is or what I do or any of that, and it kills me. It absolutely kills me. But in the end, whenever that is, everyone's going to know everything. So,
it'll all come out in the wash. But Red joined me. It's just about 3 weeks ago now for his very first inaugural appearance on in the community, and I think blew everybody away. And he's been all over the place ever since. And he comes back for a return visit on my channel tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, UTC -7. And he's got some new good stuff. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, thanks. And I have like no followers, and I say all the time, if I could turn it off, I would turn off the sub count. I just don't want to pay attention to that at all. I'm not about that. The reason I chose to come on is for the same reason we all did. We can contribute value, and I prefer hosting, and it's just not really beneficial physically to anyone that wants to pick up more subs. But I mean, if I've done a couple here with Nachiketa, I plan to have everybody on, absolutely everybody that has something to contribute. And I'd like to dig deep. I want to get you in the hot seat, and because that you're not saying everything that you want to.
Yeah.
Well, it works out good for me. Red is one of those that dropped into my Skype chat, and I don't know, I instinctively felt like I've known him my whole life and just chatted with him the way I did. Don't know how or why, but it's a beautiful thing because there's people like him doing that, and there's people like me that hate being on, don't like having the headphones on, do not really want to host this show, but really love being in the hot seat and sharing ideas. And so it's fun how everything works out.
It does, and I really like to incorporate some humor. Baldini is right there along with me with that, and Rose too, and you guys, of course. It's so important. What we're doing is just if you're in it for an hour, if you're really focusing on it, you need a nap. You need to rest because it's so taxing. Just the complete ignorance of knowledge, the disgust for knowledge that is rampant in every society. And if you're an empath of any sort, it will literally exhaust you. So we got to keep it fun, light, and sexy. We got to do some music shows and some sex shows. I mean, we got to be people. We got to be the best representatives of humanity that we can, because I don't see many other people doing that.
Yeah, missing the journey is not going to help a thing.
Yeah. No. Definitely resonate with you on so much that you're saying. So, and considering that you're brand new, you've got a voice for it. You've got a charisma for doing this kind of show. I'm left for the dog. That's crying for its mum. Oh, don't worry, she'll be back soon.
Just count that as a technical difficulty.
But you definitely got the charisma to keep an audience engaged, even just from speaking with you briefly and your little introduction. So,
well, thanks. I mean, I want to get really, really comfortable. I mean, I'm talking old chair, worn in, comfy, old coffee mug, right? If this is the only place we have to go, let's be really safe.
Now we're talking. That's exactly that's it. Just a
that's
warm,
where you are. Thank you.
Comfy place. Yep. That's what we've strived for all these years.
And honestly, I think throughout my whole journey of waking up, the one thing that you really yearn for is speaking to more than one person about this stuff, like really like this kind of conversation, having your thoughts spoken out loud. There's one thing, being woken up to the truth, but it's a lonely journey. And if you can find like-minded people, it does honestly lift your soul up so much better. I think, It's
That was another thing we tried to do early on, is make sure that the door was open to anybody, no matter what they thought, even if they thought they were still spinning. If they want to discuss it, that's fine. We're not going to have a bunch of idiots making cheap shots and insulting people, but we definitely open the door to anybody. It doesn't have to be somebody with a huge channel. Looking at you, Bob. It doesn't have to be somebody else that, just started. And speaking of just started, get over there to Red Fox's channel, everybody, and get some subs so he can do some live stuff. Because definitely, my friend, you have the voice for it.
Hey, thanks. You too. Your voice is like natural. And that's what the whole point is getting back to nature. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Got to get back to that nature. That's where the electric unicycle will help. I honestly, the company should hire me as an advertiser or promoter or something.
They may well. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
You never know.
So, I totally forgot. I was just getting ready to say something, and it's completely gone. Sorry, I'm multitasking down here and trying to mute up when necessary.
What's on your mind, Baldini?
Oh, I was just, I dropped the link to Red Fox's channel into the chat, the backstage chat.
I think I've actually added to the description, but I could have gone off the page without saving it. I am want to do that. So, yeah, I'll double check. But it should be in the description by now. If not, drop it there. Again, we'll drop it in the chat here for everybody.
I did. Yeah, I just dropped it in the chat here for everybody.
So Baldini and Red Fox, you guys just did something like days ago. I know I saw it go through and started it, and then you had some technical issues, and I haven't followed the trail to the other channel. I think that must be Red Fox's channel.
That's Red Fox's channel, yeah.
Right. So I'm so backed up on playing catch up with everybody.
Yeah, and
there's so many people out there doing so much stuff from the heart, with love, and it's just I want to see it and watch it all, and there's just not enough hours.
Me too. I try to follow. I spend much of the day listening to different channels and trying to catch up on what everybody's doing because there's so much syncretism going on between everybody, and it's remarkable how one idea will then start passing its way around, or people having the same idea at different times. What Red and I had begun, and again I had some weird audio issues. I had added virtual audio cables and it moved some things around, and turns out it wasn't even that. It was actually a hardware piece that created some problems. So he and I could hear one another, but if when he and I could hear each other, then the audience couldn't hear him. So it was just kind of bizarre. So we jumped over to his channel.
We're familiar with all of that.
Yeah, I know. It's
too familiar.
And it's sad because I've spent, decades working with professional audio stuff. So it should have been easy. But, just how it goes. Anyway, so we jumped over to Red's channel. And really, it was a document that was sent to us by Mark Bloom and asking some questions about transposition. And a fabulous thought experiment from Mark. And so we went through it. In fact, Red had done a kind of a precursor. He just read the document and gave a couple of his thoughts and kept it, fairly short. And then I joined him again, and we went through the entire thing. And one thing led to another. Really, some interesting thoughts on the idea of transposition and how it relates to, since everything is frequency and vibration, and kind of, certainly that's the way that I see it. I mean, it's rare that I make positive claims, right, that I can't prove, but I think certainly by observation and abductive reasoning, we can determine that these things are, a critical component to the world around us, if not the central aspect. If you want to look at, things like the luminiferous ether and that sort of thing, that there's some sort of media that kind of permeates everything, and when you combine that with the idea of sort of panpsychism, and that there is some level of sentience to almost everything, even if it's not an animus being. For example, as Cammie and I talked about, crystals, and minerals appear to show a kind of intelligence, a kind of sentience. As does, I started about 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, looking into the unusual properties of water, and I've been interested in a wide variety of sciences of every kind, from the soft sciences and psychology and sociology to the harder material sciences. long ago, I discovered that water has some very interesting properties that defy general material sciences in the way that we would perceive it. For example, it becomes the most dense before turning into a solid, so that the solid is somewhat less dense, so that you have ice that can float on top. Otherwise, ice would sink to the bottom, and then nothing could survive. So it has about 46 unusual properties that are recognized just in standard physical properties about water that are rather unique. And in fact, it's required for life. The two things required for life are water and sunlight. So in kind of, looking at these things and this idea that everything is tied into one another. There's a interconnectedness of all things, if you will. And the idea of transposition, specifically, again, in music, if you transpose, you can change a key where all the relationships of the notes to one another remain the same, but you change the tonic or the root. And so you can play an arrangement in a variety of different keys. And this idea that if you change the transposition, then you can do a lot of things in terms of consciousness and in terms of the frequencies with which we connect with one another. And so it's just some beautiful thoughts that he had. And Red's a bright guy, and he had some brilliant takes on this. And then as we got to talking, it led me in some other directions. And we really, like, by the time we were done, we were kind of going... And then Mark didn't let us sleep, and then he sent over another document going, "Hey, what if?" I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, man!
Yeah,
give us a rest." No, really. But he opened up such a bigger can of worms with that one. I started studying into it, and it's going to take me a little bit of time, I think, to be comfortable to go where I want to go with it. But it's so. This one runs deep. So, fascinating stuff. And I'm delighted. People send me stuff like this all the time, little bits and pieces for the Poppycock Report with Rose 777 and I, which is, just like a lighthearted, like a morning radio show, right? We do it twice a week early in the morning. And either stuff for the Poppycock Report or the bigger things like this. And so I love it. And I love to track these things down. And I'm fascinated by, all things interesting. And, again, like most things I've discovered, the crazier it sounds, the more likely it is to have some basis in reality, because what they have taught us is an upside down world. And so the things that seem most crazy are most likely to be true. It's pretty fascinating.
Well, Walt mentioned that he just doesn't have time to do this stuff. And I tell you what really turns me on is efficiency. I did live in Japan for 3 years, and those are some efficient people. And when we're at this point, when we got so many bright people starting to share more and more, especially Cammie, oh my God, watch the video. When this stuff is coming out so fast, you've got to be more efficient. So
nobody missed the video.
Yeah. So watch everything at 2x speed and learn how to speed read. Because if you get documents, you speed read things. Get a book on Amazon. It's called Speed Reading Made Easy. I taught myself to speed read. I read somewhere in between 500 and 1,000 words a minute. And you've just got to train yourself to level yourself up and be more efficient, because you need to stay on top of it. Yeah.
That sounds crazy. How long did that take you to learn that?
If you want to learn it and you can grasp the concept and you use the tools that you need, you read the book in an hour and a half, and then you reread it again in 20 minutes.
Wow. Okay, I do it differently. I read about as fast as you do, but I do it naturally, but I don't see any words on the page or anything. When I'm flipping the pages, they say I flip like that. I'm not conscious of any word on the page. I see it going through as pictures and what's happening in the book. It's the difference between a good book and a bad book to me. If it turns to pictures, and if it's a good book, I will go through a 300-page book like that. And it plays. I mean, I see it in pictures. I see it not in words at all.
So
that's more or less where you want to be.
Showreel, like the really old showreel movies. Wow.
Yeah, for me, it's not the Evelyn Wood thing at all, which is kind of just scanning it right and picking out the bigger parts. I do absorb it very, very quickly, and sort of like Cammie, it is a bit like osmosis. If it's a good book, you don't have to struggle with it. It just sort of narrative transportation takes place, and you're right into it. And if it's there are some books that are more difficult and heady, like C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity is one of those that's a little. You got to kind of take a little time with that. But for the most part, a well-written book should just, launch you there. And you can flip through it in no time flat. I think I did That was kind of like Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. I think I did that one in an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. And it mentally messed me up.
Exactly. You forget you're reading a book and go into it. It's crazy. But yeah, the ones that get overly wordy or get very get overly technical or take you out of the visual, I'll get really caught up in books too, where it'll take me, just like I can read a book in no time at all, it will take me forever to get through a book that's not written in what I would call visions.
Yep.
Now, is that the same with you, Red?
No,
certain books you can, certain no. It's any, as long as it's words.
So I'm very selective, and I only kind of apply speed reading when I have an intent to. And man, I cannot remember the last nonfiction or the last fiction book I read at all, except for the novel Coronavirus. But I'm done.
Bucket of fish.
But yeah, it's all nonfiction, and there's different methods. There's different little tricks you can use. But what Cammie's doing is another level. And if I'm just cruising along and just being more efficient, then at least that's something for me. And I just encourage everyone to do that. It's just like lifting weights for your spirit ultimately, right?
Yeah, I think, everybody's got their own specific, I guess, wedge or sphere that they excel in. But whatever that is for you, definitely, I encourage self-improvement at all levels. And even the things that you think are difficult, once you kind of put your mind to it, if you're focused on it, you can do a lot of things much better than you thought you could, except golf. It's the one thing I do that I continue to suck at. I do it anyway.
You still enjoy it though, right?
Yeah, islands of ecstasy and a sea of despair. Right?
All it takes is that one shot, and you.
That's right. It's enough to keep you coming back. And yeah. I learned very quickly from my brother, who very very early on he became a scratch golfer. He's a phenomenal athlete, and But I learned very quickly that it's kind of the better that you get, the more frustrating the game is, because you assume that you're going to, when you start making great shots, you assume you're going to string those together. And simply, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, go watch the PGA Tour on any weekend.
Yeah, those guys they do it, tens of thousands of balls a day, and they're better, right? Because they have great muscle memory. But
they're in the rough quite a lot. They're in the bunkers quite a lot. They get wet quite a lot. Yeah,
even for those guys. And I think that I have found so many great metaphors for life from the game of golf. Right? It's, for example, it's not how well you play; it's how well you play when you play poorly. Right, how well you can recover from those bad situations, and I found that many things. Right, it's the short game. Right, it's the details, or it's the follow through. Right, keep your eye on the ball. These sorts of things are really great metaphors for life that I have derived a good deal of wisdom and enjoyment out of the horrible torture that is golf.
Yeah, that little ball just laughs at me. It just sits there and laughs. Only on the tee though. I'm good everywhere else, but the tee. Put me on the tee and it's like slice.
I have spent so much time on the golf course, and always as a caddy, never as a golfer, because I considered myself a smart girl. I love being out on the golf course, but you're saying take a little long stick and hit this little bitty ball and make it fly in the right direction and land in that little hole. And it's like, what, I've seen myself bowl.
Yeah, and you got 3 or 4 chances.
You've got to be kidding.
To get it in. You know what hooked me really early on, this is kind of funny, but so very early on, I played professional putt golf. If you guys know what putt golf is, like
I can putt. I love putt.
It's a specific style of miniature golf. It doesn't have the windmills and that sort of stuff, but it's sort of like billiards and putting put together. It's angles and that sort of stuff. And I was big into that, and so I played my late teens. I got pretty good at it and played professional putt golf. And I turned my brother onto it, of course, and he said, "No, this is dumb. Let's play real golf." Right? And so I started playing, and early on, I was able to hit a very long drive and put it out there pretty far. But sort of like, always to the left or to the right. So statistically, it's perfect. But I went out early one morning because I was in Texas, and it gets, really too hot by 10 o'clock in the morning to be outside. And so I'd get out there at 5 o'clock in the morning. And the only other guys out there were these old guys, what I considered old at the time, right? And these guys and, octogenarians out there. And I'd hit a ball 380, 400 yards sometimes, but, way off to the right. And, these guys could barely have any range of motion, but they'd plink the ball and it'd go 250 yards, right? But theirs is right down in the middle of the fairway. And so they go up, and, I'm smiling big because they got to hit again, and they go plink and they hit it again about, 225 yards, but it's right there on the green. Right. And I'm stuck out there. And so it takes me, 3 or 4 shots to get up on the green, and they've already gotten a hole. So it didn't matter about this big, long drive. They were kicking my ass. And I realized that these guys are having a delightful time, and they could barely walk. And they, it's like, hey, this is a game you can play your whole. I was like, well, how long you guys been playing? They're like, oh, I don't know, 66 years, something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that would make a difference. You've got that much time invested in the game. But again, I realized it's a game that you could play all your life, and you would never conquer. Right. It's just one of those things. It's that carrot that's always just out of reach. And it's, it's not really you against anybody else. It's you against not only the course, but kind of your own thought process. And it is mostly a mental game. And I fell in love with it. It's something I like to do. I had to give it up for a while because of back surgery, but I still like it, and just plink it around a bit. But again, for me, it has much more to do with the entertainment, being out in nature, reconnecting with nature, and again, all the parallels with life and the metaphors for life that I find there's almost always something that I walk away with after a round, and that I can apply to my life.
I like the part where you get to look at how far it is and pull the right club, and look at the golfer and judge what's the right amount of club for this shot.
Yeah.
And I like being out in nature, but as far as hitting the damn ball, fuck it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I said. It's one of the few things that I always kind of had a propensity for. I preferred to do things that I was good at, right? I was kind of had a natural proclivity for. And so there were things that I didn't really want to pursue because I just didn't have a lot of depth in that. And I think that's natural. You want to excel at what you do. But golf is just kind of one of those exceptions. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I enjoyed it enough, and it was challenging enough that I kind of kept with it. So, but most other things, I have to. It has to appeal to me in some way. And if you suck at it, it doesn't. Pardon?
You see the automatic clubs they have now?
No, what?
In golf, you just set it down and push a button. You just line it up.
Oh, and it changes its angle. It changes the.
Yeah, it'll drive it over 200 yards, and I think you can hit it minimum of 160 yards or something like that.
So it's changing its loft angle.
Yeah, it hits it nice too. It's crazy.
That's nutty. I always wanted to put an RFID in golf balls. I figured if you could get something like that, where you could just locate your golf ball. Of course, it would put the golf ball companies sort of out of business, I suppose, because they make their. When I was a kid, I grew up on a golf course, and I would go out and shag golf balls out of the water traps, and so I lived right on the first tee, and so I'd go out and sell golf balls to the golfers as they would come through there, and made quite a bit of money as a kid.
That's what they do.
Whose older brother did that. Scuba gear.
Yeah.
That's what they do, Baldini, at Top Golf. There's RFID chips in the balls, and that's how they determine where they land on the little course there in Top Golf. I like golf. I played golf starting when I was a little kid, and I'm pretty good, but I don't ever like keeping score. I don't like competition really at all. But what I really miss is recess. And, that's my metaphor for life. We're supposed to go out there and just do stuff. Play, have fun, just play, skin our knees, kiss each other behind the bushes. That's what it's all about for me,
Foursquare and tetherball.
Yeah, a good game of bombardment to get your clothesline somebody.
Good at bombardment when I was young.
We called it something else. What did we call dodgeball? It was dodgeball. Oh, right. I love dodgeball.
Yeah, I went to the YMCA summer camps.
Well, dodgeball or bombardment, that's a good way. It was always a good way to get out your frustrations on somebody in class you didn't like, right?
Oh, yeah. I was a counselor when I was older, and that was my favorite game. Kids I didn't like. And just, yeah, you're going down. We had a rule, just no hitting in the head. Mm-hmm. That was our rule for the counselors, you know.
Well, I would, I'd say which one, because I'd put the hurt on somebody that way. There is a story, I won't tell it now, but I did to one of a student teacher who was kind of a jerk, and I hit him 4 square. and he was displeased about that, but it turned out to not be in my favor, because ultimately he got angry and he threw the ball back at me really hard, which was viewed by the PE coach, who then took him to task for it, and apparently he ultimately got kicked out of the student teaching program. Well, that sounds all well and good. I think he got some comeuppance, but he became instead a local police officer.
Oh, geez.
Whoops.
And that didn't turn out well for me. I'll tell you that. It was
probably for that exact reason he became a police officer.
It probably was. And guess he came after it immediately. The long-haired hippie kid riding a motorcycle, musician guy. So it didn't turn out well for me. So yeah, the glory of that was very short-lived.
Oh, the swords are always double-edged.
Indeed, always. They are.
Still, there'd have to be a little bit of satisfaction in there somewhere. Even if you're cuffed up in the back. Be like, hey, remember that one time?
Yeah. I think, ultimately that they all get there. So I have a great deal of trust in the designer and creator of this place, that he knows what's going on. And I think even though we don't get to see it sometimes manifest, I have a good deal of trust that everything turns out the way it's supposed to.
Why can't I have that?
Hey, Josh, I had a question for you.
Oh, that's awesome. I
was listening to you earlier today, and you were talking about some experiences you had with your friends, and how individually you would kind of, lift the veil, and then when they got together, they would kind of gang up on you, and they would ignore what you were saying and denounce it. I'm interested to hear more about that, and like on the topic that I think everyone here has had schisms, if not relationships, friendships, families just completely broken because of a lack to find a common view or to accept their separate views, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember specifically where it is you may have heard that.
I think it was this morning on Ireland.
Yeah, it was literally this morning. Yeah. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, man.
No, that's all right. It's been one of those days for me. Again, Tuesday was spot on. It's like everything was firing on all cylinders. Now I got a
welcome to my world,
semi-conscious hamster on the wheel. I'm trying to think exactly what I was specifically referring to. When you're speaking of schisms and friendships, damn, I'm at a loss. I'll have to go back and listen. I hate having to go back and listen.
What spurred my mind is I think we've all had a run-in where someone that we trusted or we loved, and we made these discoveries and we wanted to share them with that person. And it's like, oh, you're still asleep and there's nothing I can do about that. And that's really, really painful, as we are, emotional creatures, right?
Yeah, it is. It is really painful.
We were talking with Brian about this morning.
I was about to say it was during Brian's conversation.
Gotcha. That's maybe a little bit more context, maybe. But I think,
as you say, I think we've all gone through it. I mean, I've lost friends literally that I've had for 25, 30 years that used to dig into all the unexplained things around the world with me. And as soon as it went flat, I haven't talked to him in 3 years.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it? I find it remarkable, but unsettling that more and more people are ending relationships based not on behaviors, but on beliefs, that they simply don't share perspectives. And that to me is just, it's flabbergasting, really, because it you can certainly see from from certain groups like the very hard left blue pillars. It's very much like a cult type mentality. You must toe the line in toto. If you step away and have any divergent thoughts, they will kick you right out. They have no problem eating their own right away. So if you've got somebody who is supportive of pretty much the entire left agenda, but they believe in Second Amendment, they're right out. If they have different thoughts on, procreational decisions, right out. They cannot be a part of it.
That's why it's huge now, Baldini, is because the behavior is one and one with the view. Because if you're up to your snuff and you're not going to wear a mask, for example, that's your behavior, and it's directly tied to your view now. It's in there.
It is. It does come out of it. But I mean, I've known, many. Well, let's take this for example. There are many people I've known throughout the years in, for example, the Christian community, and they would eschew and ostracize people who were not what they would call believers, and they would quote scripture for that and said, we're not supposed to be unequally yoked. Can two people, different views walk together, right? And they would just push people out of their lives. I'm like, what are you doing? Right? I mean, that's that. I don't get that at all. So I have known many people of really good people of all kinds of beliefs and all kinds of viewpoints, and that's part of what I love to find. I'm fascinated by the way different people see different things. And for example, the conversation I had with Nachiketa, we have come from very different places, immensely different starting points, and yet come to very similar views through the process of looking for truth. Yet there is also the truth that it is from the overflow or the abundance of a man's heart that comes his works, right? So it is your thoughts that lead to your behavior, certainly, but simply dismissing somebody because they don't share a particular viewpoint or ideal, to me it's how else would you engage with people or get them interested in your point of view? I find it very difficult when I see people who, for example, once they wake up to any of these truths, but especially, for example, flat Earth or any of these, I would say bigger ones, then when they try to, share that with other people and they get pushback, many times that pushback is very harsh, right? And involves epithets and ad homs, and then they begin to return the favor. I just don't find personally that very helpful at all, because it creates this argument, right, and this bitterness between people that I don't think is helpful. It's like if you can stay above the fray and not have to resort to that. This is a particular time for me that many people are, there are those who, what we would call mask holes or whatever, right, who are very upset that other people don't wear masks, and yet. Right. And yet those that get upset, there are some who are going to be that way, but some who realize that, I'm not a jerk because I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not afraid. Right. And they want to know why don't you know what's going on? I'm like, absolutely. But here, have you done any research? Right. Here's the information. And so when they realize that these positions that I have come not from a place of ignorance, but rather from a place of education. And the same is true with the other things, whether it's, the crazy conspiracy tinfoil stuff, or whether it's even questioning the nature of the heliocentric model. It's not from a place of ignorance. It's not as if I missed school on that day. Right. And
no,
I can well.
And it's not coming from a place of, like, haha, I'm smarter than you either.
No,
it's coming from a place of love. You want to share this knowledge with them.
Well, I'm not very even
as well. There's love and concern. The fact that nobody knows this, if you think about it, I don't think that many people are aware about the heliocentric model. And up until maybe the last 5 years, I'd say properly, it's becoming acceptable to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Or questioning the heliocentric model, right? Or expressing doubt about it. Sure. And I was in fact frustrated with myself that when I first looked into it, that I hadn't ever questioned some of these things because they seemed on the surface to be preposterous. Like how could I ever believe that? I mean, I know I questioned it as a kid, but you just accept it and move on. For example, I pretty much always questioned the moon landings, but I wasn't even mad about it. I thought it was just an outgrowth of the political system at the time, right? That they just did it to win the space race. And again, I wasn't even mad, but I never considered that the ISS or any of that stuff was false. So you look into it, and it's like, oh, geez. So I was again rather frustrated with myself that I know these things, right? I know the second law of thermodynamics. I know that gas doesn't have covalent bonding. How could I have ever accepted Jupiter or Saturn or the gas giants? Like, it just doesn't, I mean, you just can't put any of those things together. The house of cards comes falling down quickly. But again, as Zach said, it's not coming from a place of like, oh, you're dumb, right? I'm smarter than you. You're just too dumb to figure it out. Because that really is the ad hom of kind of the globe side. You just don't understand. No, well, I do.
If you put it into a clinical term, such as moron, I think that's perfectly acceptable. And this is why. It might set people off, but you just look up what moron means. And I can say this because I used to be one. And all I did was consider alternative information. That's all I did. I had an open mind. I spent 2 minutes. And then I found out that Building 7, was a setup. And then it went from there and there and there and there. So the information is there. And if people are choosing willingly not to listen, and I can't accept that.
Okay, and I agree with that, Red. Although, again, bear in mind, and that's the very central theme of the awakening study that I'm doing, right? Is to understand the difference between somebody that can come to it with that ability to set aside one's ego and one's need to defend a position and simply become tabula rasa, right? And I mean, even I wasn't when it came to the shape of the Earth, right? Initially, I tried to disprove it, and then I tried to try to prove the globe Earth, and I realized that the information for that was very thin, and so I had to back up and say, okay, let's do the same thing I did with Scripture when I was a youth, which is throw everything out, right? Let's start over, give up everything I thought I knew, and start over. And as soon as I did that with, for example, the shape of the Earth, it became immediately apparent what was going on, and then you could very quickly use discernment and see right through the lies. It was very, very quick. But not everybody is built that way. And it's easier to understand that some people have, it's built into them that they seek external validation. And those people are going to find it very difficult to be able to let go of what they are told to believe, because they need that external validation. And you're certainly not going to get it looking into flat Earth. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's fear-based. It's totally fear-based. I did an experiment where I wore a mask on my chin, and I was right, because they see the mask. They don't question that it's not on your mouth or your nose. Maybe a small few would, but most will just see the mask and then look back down at the floor.
Yeah.
It's more a case of compliance rather than safety, if anything, what I think with this mask business. It's like, it's easy to spot who will comply.
Well, and they do. They give the meme, though, that they send out this idea that you do it because you care for others, right? So even if you don't understand the science behind it, we're going to tell you that it's for the sake of not just you but others. You're doing it for other people, and then they think it becomes virtue signaling. They think that they're doing good for others, and if you don't, then you don't care about others, right? Then you're a jerk and you want people to die, and then they wish harm on you. And that's, again, to me, the just flabbergasting thing is they will, some of them wish harm upon. I hope you get sick and die. Really? Like, really? That's your go-to, right? You want harm on other people. But again, many of them take it as, it's not just a go along to get along, but they feel like it's, they're appealing to their better angels of their nature, right? And they think that they're a good person because they're doing it.
There's not been an official narrative where they've shown me that this mask wearing is actually healthy for me and is saving my life. I've not seen anything that states
that they haven't done it. They haven't done it here either. There's been no explicit narrative of it, right? It's just been by implication and by
you just have to wear masks because we've told you that it's going to save your life.
Exactly. And if you don't, you're a jerk. right? That, I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's what they've said.
Go to hell.
Exactly. They that's the position that they've put people in. It's like, God, just wear the damn mask, people, right? I mean, and those are the memes that are going around, and so this is again the kind of virtue signaling that people do. They virtue signal, and it seems to me to be tied in again with our the ever increasing celebration of victimhood. And so this gives them the perfect opportunity to be a victim and yet virtue signal at the same time. See how inconvenienced I am by helping you. And it's nauseating to me, but that is the mindset that they have well created, and it's effective for a large number of people. But again, especially these people who are seeking external validation, and so they need it from other people, and so they look around until they get approval from others, and those are the ones who are simply very unlikely to let go and to really make a decision on their own based on their own understanding and researching something till they at least come to a place that they can accept it or they're comfortable with the outcome. They have to have that validation from elsewhere. And if they don't get it, they can't go.
Well, this idea of being a comfort, a caring signal when you wear your little mask is not new. Josh found some old articles this morning. We used some pictures from them in our description, like the Beatles with their little coverings on, articles from the 1918 flu epidemic, cartoons from the 40s.
That's what it is.
Showing how this is not new, people. They've been doing this many times.
What it is, and Sita, you're right. It's deeper than that. They're checking. You know how a hypnotist, before they perform in the audience, they do little tests in the audience and see who can raise their hand and who is susceptible in that. They're testing who's susceptible to their hypnotization, or seeing. They're filtering out who can we hypnotize, who is the hypnotizing not affecting. And I'm sorry, everybody, I cut off, but I wanted to throw that thought out there. But it's a test. It's a filter. It's a way to see who is being affected and who is not, and it is like a spell casting filter.
It is absolutely a litmus test to those who are susceptible to the power of suggestion, and that is exactly what.
Yes. That's
exactly what my Awakening Project has demonstrated. It is the power of suggestion, and that's always followed the Pareto distribution of 80-20. The 20% of the people are extremely susceptible. 20% of the people are very unsusceptible to it, and about the 60% in between follow a standard bell curve distribution. But they using a full court press to get the full 80% as hard as they can, and they've even got a little bit more than that, right? So, but they are literally under a spell. They're literally in hypnosis. There's no other way.
They're practicing mind control spells on us. Watch Darren Brown if you haven't ever watched what he can do and exactly how brain control works. It's spell casting, and again, the people not wearing the masks aren't being affected by the spells. They're taking a
absolutely.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, it's nothing. It's just breeded a crazy nation of dictators. You know, I remember standing in a queue, and this woman. This wasn't even about the mask. This was about the distance aspect, that you have to stand 2 meters apart or something for your own safety, but she wasn't standing 2 meters apart, but was pretty much telling me off for just going over the line. So then I stood back over the line and left my basket there, and she was like, move the basket. And I was like, but the basket isn't going to spread the virus, is it? I don't know, just really bizarre and just stupid ideas that you can think that is how you're going to save someone's life from a supposed virus.
Yeah, and you mentioned the litmus test, and as I've read in Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, they refer to it as a shock test.
Right.
And there's excellent engineering schematics in that document that lead to exactly the conclusion that they want to concoct. And then moreover, 100 years, allegedly, before that came out, there was the book by Gustave Le Bon called The Crowd. And everything that we're seeing right now is directly in the crowd of conformity. Yeah, 1-to-1, how they, the rioting, people lose their moral ground when they're in a crowd. And it was even evident in scripture. I mean, during Mosaic law, the ultimate penalty was stoning to death. And even if the majority really knew in their hearts that the man who was being stoned to death was truly innocent, they went about it anyway because they were in a crowd and everyone else was doing it. So the same concept applies to the looting and the rioting that we're seeing now.
Right. And the same concept, I'm trying to remember hard, and I cannot for the life of me remember because I've read a lot of books. But one of the books I read was about these friends that wanted to get into the most prestigious medical schools. And, you know, they competed and they all had the best grades, this and that. But the trick to the test is that you had to spend, during testing, you had to spend the night at the dormitories. And at night they would they would hypnotize you overnight or play some stuff subliminally overnight. And the people that were susceptible to being hypnotized would have answers that nobody else would have that was never covered in medical school. There were some questions on the test that were never part of any kind of studying or learning or anything, that were only induced hypnotically. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is when the people took the test, the ones that got into the most prestigious school were the ones that could be hypnotized, and the pharmaceutical companies could use them to the best and things like that, because bingo. That's the same things they're using with the astronauts and with the people in a larger filter right now. But again, an excellent book. And what they did with it, what happened in the book that made it interesting is a girl cheated. She didn't, on a couple of the questions, she had no idea what they were talking about. And she looked over onto somebody else's paper and got them right. But it made it for a fun book.
And this is, similar to the idea of when you get to the third level in masonry, and then when you get to that point, then you're asked to urinate on a cross. And so if you don't do it, and you say, I can't do that, they go, oh, brother, you did good. Of course, a good moral man would never do that. And they slap you on the back and say, you're our brother for life. But if you do it, right, then you don't have any problem with it. Only then can you move on, because they know you have a certain moral flexibility, right?
Yeah, then the fourth degree is offered to you.
Exactly, right.
Because most Masons don't get past the third degree.
Exactly, and this is exactly why. So you still are in, but you're at the lower, bottom of the pyramid, and so you're the guy who, without, any moral compunction at all, can easily tell everybody. In fact, this is the vast majority of them. No, we're just a fraternal organization. We go out and do, good works, and we're drinking buddies. Yeah, exactly. Because that's all they do. And that's all they will ever know.
Ping pong and drink on Tuesdays.
Exactly. That's all they will ever know. And so they're not telling a lie, in the same way that most of the people who repeat most of these lies, the heliocentric model or that of history, they're not lying. They're sincere, but sincerely mistaken, because, they have been taught this. They had no reason to, doubt or question their mentor and those that they idolized. And so, of course, they're not lying.
No, they're not. And again, people are chosen a lot of the times. Again, I believe astronauts and people that are put in these public positions are not chosen necessarily because they're liars, but because they're easier to program.
Right. Or even
they're
smart,
susceptible.
Right?
They're very smart. It has nothing to do with intelligence. You can be very smart and still be able to be hypnotized. In fact, the two are not incompatible at all. You can't outsmart your way out of being easy to hypnotize.
No, that has nothing to do
right.
with that. But I'm saying, I was saying on the other hand, getting into the program has nothing to do with intelligence either, right? It's not about being smart. I mean,
no, it's about
PhD Don Pettit, right? I mean, that's a window licker right there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but it has to do with, again, your ability to be hypnotized and programmed, right? And they definitely do this in the indoctrination centers known as school. They create the classic Dunning-Kruger effect by not only discouraging but punishing good questions and any hard questions. No, you're dumb. Right, but
they punish all thought and reward all. Anytime that you can repeat what they say, you get rewarded. And any thought whatsoever is definitely, it doesn't matter.
You're a troublemaker, right?
Yes.
You're not just dumb. You're a troublemaker, and you have a problem with authority.
Yes.
Right, and that's that'll stick with you the rest of your life. That you have a problem with authority. Well, I consider that a good thing.
Amen.
right? Although, they try to conflate that, as they do many things, right, with being unteachable. Those are very different things. Just like they've, conflated the ideas, for example, of anarchy. Right, they've used more than just semantic drift on that, in the same way that they've done again what it means to be like the nature of the word progressive. It's not progressive at all. It couldn't be more regressive, in terms of political. So they have simply changed the meaning of the words and used program semantic drift to make them mean something else.
We're definitely in a pharmaceutical dictatorship now. I don't hear that a lot. But with our leading industry being pharmaceuticals and the way that it's carried out, it's a dictatorship. So,
well, it's here entirely.
Tied in though with, I think the technocracy is probably even bigger, because data again is the new oil, but it drives everything else. But certainly, you do have a captive audience when you can keep them sick from birth by controlling the food industry as well, because it's the same people that do the food as do the pharmaceuticals. So you keep them sick with food. You
that doesn't make sense to have the food and drug.
No, and the doctors, right?
So food is the drug.
Exactly. And you guys are right on it, right? So you do everything you can. So you take you teach the preachers, if you will, religion, keep people away from actual spirituality, right? Just keep them in a box of rules. And then you take the educators, just tell them to regurgitate this stuff. And if they can't do well on a standardized test, what does that tell you? Then you're going to lose your job. So they're just worried about making sure that they score well on standardized tests. So do what I tell you. You get the doctors and you get them into allopathic medicine. Here's give them a drug for this. And if you do enough, then you'll get a bonus and you got to pay off those loans. And if you don't do it, you're going to get sued for malpractice. So toe the line there. In academia, right? Do what we say, or again, teach what we say. Or so they've got it all the way around. And they start you off
medicine.
Yep. And so they start you off sick with bad food that has no nutrition, that's sweet because kids like the sweet food. And they got you hooked your whole life. And then when you get sick, because you will, and you stay away from any sort of real spiritual life and stay indoors and away from nature, you're going to get sick. So you go to a doctor who gives you a pill, and then the pharmaceutical company makes it. I mean, they've got you on both ends.
And it's not anymore. It's not what drugs is the general population on, it's how many drugs, or like, it's not, are you on any medication anymore? If you, who do you know that's not in the truth through movement that you can go up to and not, even my little nieces and nephews, it's like, not, are you on any medications? It's like, what allergy pills, what what are your prescriptions that need to be picked up? And
yeah, exactly. It's remarkable. It is a pharmaceutical nightmare.
And the seniors, I did some pharmacy runs because of COVID for people elderly that I've helped out. And one of the ones I did for 2 people, and there were 114 prescriptions. Whoa! I know. I'm not joking. It was an IKEA bag full of them, not a bag full of them. But if anybody shopped at IKEA and has seen those big IKEA bags,
blue bag.
I filled it with medications. It was really sad. It broke my heart. It was just for 2 people.
I guess, 4 trips ago, 6 trips ago, I don't know. It's been about 4 or 5 years now that I went out there to Oregon and literally got my mom off like 20 different prescriptions, and she was down to 1, and cannabis oil. And of course, that all went out the window because they didn't maintain it. But anyway, it was ridiculous the amount of crap they had her on.
How would you even keep track of that many?
Exactly. She couldn't. That was part of it.
Oh my gosh. I know my wife has a pretty good stash of them, but she does have everything from, diabetes. She got that. She's got, had 2 heart attacks. So she's got, Plavix and that sort of stuff. So she's got a pretty good stash, but we managed to get her off most of them. And, even those have substantial side effects. So, but me, I take nothing. Nothing.
Like ice packs.
Turmeric. That's what I take is turmeric, and a couple of supplements here and there, maybe some garlic when I feel like I want it, that kind of thing. But nothing.
I do. I do. I was going to say I do indulge in coffee. That's my methamphetamines.
That's my crack, don't you?
Yep. And
yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I got the Christian crank going, and I do.
The flat earth liquid. That's
right. Our leading plant, right?
Exactly.
And then I've got, the THC, the supercritical extraction. We were talking about that backstage before the show. Got that going on. And juices. I like, a variety of natural juice, and I make my own fruit.
How can you not like juice? Juice is so good.
Isn't it? It's like nectar of the gods.
It's nectar of the gods. It's so delicious. It's so yummy. It's like, how could you not like to drink juice?
All right. So I don't know if it's just the after effects or if we're just having some weather blow back up, but my stuff keeps flickering here, and I'm afraid I'm going to get kicked back out, which has already happened once. So do you guys mind if I take a left turn real quick and show something on my screen really quick?
Go right ahead. This is your place, man.
Please.
No, you're our guest, and I don't want to take it away, but I had talked about this morning, and it's actually something that some of the Globers on Twitterville are.
Yeah, I want to see.
Well, they keep saying that, there's obviously no way that it's flat because of the southern stars. I mean, come on. They go in a circle at the pole, just like at the North Pole. We've seen it. They've seen it. Of course, they've all been.
Well, what happened to Intelligent Wino?
Oh,
Who's
God.
Who's this? I don't know this one.
You're making me laugh just by saying that.
Oh, wait, Josh, you got to give me some power.
Hey, Baldini.
Yeah.
When you look at the declination map, look when you're in the southern continents where they have the
Zach,
people
you'll have
pointing
to
to
give
a
him
south. You'll see that they're pointing towards the dipoles.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was gonna say that this whole idea of southern star rotation, it's like, all you got to do turn around.
Piece of cake. There's two of them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one on each side.
Still working for me, Josh.
That's Zach.
Oh my gosh.
Zach has the power.
Oh, I
The
didn't know.
dipoles are spinning the same
Zach,
field on both of them because it's
give me a little
spinning
power.
the quadrupole
I'm
field.
looking into it. I'm trying.
Dipole circle.
Yeah, it's
When they're cold, they circle.
Yeah, it's too easy to figure out, and it's like.
No, I know people are so worried.
I know when they say, "Oh, it can only work this way," I'm like, "What? It doesn't."
Oh my God! And you can't stretch Australia. I did what I did on the turtle. I did it to a guy up in Canada, and he almost cried. The guy that showed up with all of his equipment, this man showed up that was a total globe head at the Canada conference, and he was hijacking everybody in the parking lot, explaining with the map how it's impossible. And I moved his pieces, and he was like, "You can't, you can't do that."
That's really funny.
It was so funny,
and it's just remarkable how butthurt they get.
Why not?
How what kind of cognitive dissonance do you got to be in to go to a conference of something that you don't believe in?
I know.
Right. That's what I
think
wonder
it's dumb.
about guys that spend their days in and out on Twitter, just barking at our doors, and it's like, we don't have time for you people.
Yeah, it's like what kind of world do you live in that you got to be a troll? Like what is that?
Why do you think
if there's something there's something I'm not interested in, I just keep scrolling.
Right.
I think I made this boy cry.
So, what does that encourage? That encourages this whole blocking mentality. Oh, well, I'll just block you and I don't have to deal with you anymore. And that's that narcissism. It's that narcissism that gets bred there where, well, if I just don't like anything, I block it and out of sight, out of mind. So as long as you don't bring it in front of my face, then it doesn't affect me. But as soon as you do, well, now I'm just got this righteous indignation because you've affected my safe space, my little bubble that I've created.
Yeah, exactly. How dare you bring it in my safe space?
How dare you? How dare you?
Oh, double dare you, sir.
How dare you?
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Okay. Every time I see that girl, if that's a girl, every time I see that photograph, every time I see that photograph of whatever that is, I always feel a little bit bad because I know at least it's a young person. And then I feel bad because I really want to throat punch it really bad. And I'm not a violent person. I just like, boom.
Evil can come in small packages.
Yeah.
It is pretty evil.
I was like that with Neil deGrasse Tyson for a little while. I just wanted to spear him.
So punchable.
I just wanted to run up and just be like, Goldberg WWE spear. You throw your whole body at his waist and just take
they're all like.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
So early on, I had a friend who just bugged me about things I wouldn't have looked into on my own because I'd gone out to the beach and filmed the sun going away and down to the right numerous times. So something wasn't right. So that set me out. But she sent me out looking for like sniper bullets and Southern Crux. And how come all these people can see it? Well, I'm like, okay, let me go look at these people and where they see it, what time of day it all happens. And so I sat down with all the resources I could find at that time easily and found out that at like Cape Horn, they saw it here. At another place in South America, they saw it this time, and another place in New Zealand, they saw it at this time. And none of it was at the same time. It was all 6 hours, 12 hours, 8 hours apart, just like it would be on a big circle 24-hour clock.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Well, you can't find it. Now you can't find it. I mean, truly to piece that together like I used to is hard to do. And what that led me to today was this new beta version that Time and Date has of this night sky thing.
You mean
so I'm
gamma
playing
version?
with it. I found here in my home area of South Louisiana that if you scroll through, you can find the little North Star area, and that's what I see in my nightly sky, and there's a center point. It all does, just like we think it would over the North Pole. And that's from Louisiana, which isn't over the North Pole or anywhere near the North Pole, and yet I can see this every night. Well, let's go, say, to, here we go, South America. What does their sky look like when they're looking south to this central point at the bottom of the globe? Whoa. Well, now that doesn't look like a central point revolving around a central point. That looks like a outer ring that's kind of going around thing.
It's not
That's got to be because I'm not
one
south
centripetal, one centrifugal.
Surely
you are way south enough.
You just can't be south enough. No,
I'm not south enough. That's just South America. Further. How about this one? How about Thule? Because Thule is, I can't get to
it. It's the center of the aurora. It's the aurora borealis. If when you draw a circle of the aurora borealis and X marks the spot, is Thule.
Yeah, Thule. There we go. It's 59. There it is. It's way down there. It's southern. There it is. You see where it's at, right?
And yet the aurora circle around it.
Now here's Thule's sky at night, because certainly it'll show the circle.
Oh yeah, if there was a South Pole star, you'd see it.
Well, I mean, this doesn't look anything like what would happen around the South Pole star at all to me.
Oh dear.
I mean, if you went down another 30 degrees, you're still not having a central point of rotation.
No, that's rotating around you, son.
This is on their freaking. This is their shit. This is their. Where's this one? I can't.
You have to quit looking at their. Oh, well.
I know. I'll stop playing with their stuff. You know, I just thought that was really crazy that on their very own tool, you can see that the shit doesn't work anything like we're told.
Right. A JC 1844, by the way, does wonderful, wonderful sky mapping and has a really good feel of how it all works. Just to plug, if you guys haven't seen Flat Earth Smarts, you should.
Yeah, they're amazing. I think it's number 12.
The entire series is outstanding.
Yeah, it is.
The sky
like
is
12
remarkable.
is where he really covers the planisphere.
Yes,
how that works.
Does a great job.
And Red, this is one that you and I haven't talked about much. What do you, how deep are you into physics of what we're looking at here?
Well, I think everything's cool, and Cammy's doing a great job. What would we be without David Weiss, et cetera, and everybody else? I mean, Eric Dubay, I mean, for whatever he was or is. But I'm keeping kind of my own record of timekeeping. And I haven't heard much about it. And I don't know for sure how accurate it is. But as we were kind of alluding together in our first talk, I mean, why not start the day at noon at locally at the height of the power of the sun? If in fact Genesis was, the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay.
Yes. Time has meaning. It all has meaning.
Exactly. So let's start the first day at noon locally. And by my count, if today is Thursday, it is the 29th day of the 4th month.
We have to do a whole show on this.
Which is the 4th month again? I'm trying to remember what's the 4th month.
I don't have any title. I just count 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, starting at the spring equinox and by the lunar phases. And you also have to flip the moons, right? So the new moon is the opposite.
It's the end of it, right?
Right. Yeah. So the full
new moon
is
The new moon is the completion of the cycle, by the way.
The start and the completion. Yeah.
Right.
So
it's the recycling. Right. Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, right. Absolutely. The full moon is midway point.
No,
I'm positive on this. I'm very positive.
I'm tracking with all this. I'm just sitting here going, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I call it lawful timekeeping, and nice. I'm not super deep into the scripture, but I'm keeping track. And I mean, this comes from the concept that what we have, a calendar for time. Think about that. If we are a product of the Creator, how dare we assume that tomorrow will exist?
Right.
So we've got to look at the signs and the seasons and keep track for ourselves and humble ourselves. Okay, let's keep track and see what's going to happen tomorrow and record it. And if you get in the habit of it, it's not very hard at all. Sunday, June 28th, that was the first quarter moon. And I start the count at noon every day, and I just keep track, and we're going to have possibly, a pretty good thing happen tomorrow. But if the moon isn't really, really full, then it's not time yet. So, I mean, I put this out there, and somebody that's good with it, run with it. But that's what I'm doing.
Well, we had a guest on a while back. Oh, I'm sorry, but we had a guest on a while back who talked about, and it's been a while, years, literally, and that's my bad for not remembering who it is. Somebody here help me, I hope. But we were talking about going by a different length of day. I believe it was either shorter, like 20 hours. Was that right? Is this ringing a bell for anybody? I remember setting my clock.
Definitely ringing a bell.
So Book of Enoch, the day is divided into 18 parts. Mm-hmm. And at the summer solstice, it's 9 and 9. And it just teeter-totters from there.
20 came from something.
Yeah. And the summer solstice here in Seattle had the same solar noon was 1:11 and solar midnight was 1:11. Just
right. For those who don't know natural time in the chat room, this is what I'm trying to say, because then everything will make more sense for you. When you go outside, your local solar noon is when the sun is at its apex, at its highest point. That is your local noon. Every daylight savings time and all these things are just ways to take you out of time.
Exactly.
The countries, the very religious countries, understand that. That's why you'll see time zones on like the 15 minutes in like weird time zones. Is they're centering it on top of time correctly. But these things take you out of time. Midnight is the witching hour. That is when the full moon is at meridian. It happens once a month, and that is your midnight, your witching hour. Your swastika marks your seasons.
Yep.
Yeah. And in the realm of the deception, they begin the day at the witching hour. See how completely inverse it is?
Upside down. Yeah.
Completely wrong.
Inversion. Yeah. So it is remarkable how, again, as Red said, the hubris to not only codify it differently. Again, as he said, and Wayne McCroy and I did this in our Sola Scriptura program when we just started at the beginning, going through the book of Genesis. And I mean, it's right there in the first chapter when he created the luminaries and let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years, and that's where you get the information from. And then to put a man-made construct about it, but not only that, to move it around and to alter it in the way that we've done is hubris beyond belief. And in fact, again, this is also mentioned in scriptures. It says they shall think to change times and seasons, and again, that's exactly what they've done. There is a huge amount of, if you dare say, prophetic information that is certainly prescient, written in Scripture about what the enemy would think to do.
Yeah, I say the adversary, and I think we're just in a cosmic realm of censorship at every level. Our relatives are deceived. I think we have an obligation to release ourselves of the liability. And to tell them, just like the legalist administrators do it with the terms of use agreements. Okay, we told you once, right? And I'm not saying just tell your loved ones once, but I think when we're accepting, the Most High and keeping accurate time, we've got to, keep our internal selves in check, and then also we have the obligation to share it.
Well, to that point, that's exactly from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, Illuminati confirmed. No, no. Ezekiel 33 is the metaphor of the watchman on the wall. And if you see danger coming, and you tell no one, and they are harmed because of it, their blood is on your hand. But if you see danger coming and you warn them and they ignore you, your hands are clean. Doesn't matter. I mean, you're good. So it is your obligation, if you see danger coming, to warn. And what they do with that information is on them. You cannot force them or make them accept it or even change their behavior based on it. But it is your obligation to share it. And again,
everyone deserves choice.
Yeah,
everyone deserves it. It's important.
Even the adversary gives us that.
Yes.
Right? I mean, even the adversary gives us the power of choice. Now, he'll lie to your face, right? And he'll try to trick you, but he does give you the power of choice.
Yeah, and when you unveil things to people, you're actually going against the program of the adversary at that point, even though he may condone it. It's sad, but like the overall control of this realm has been delegated to literally a prankster, and he's just trying to screw with us all.
A trickster, right?
A trickster. Even though absolutely horrific things happen, like cannibalism, and most of it is hidden from the majority of us, like, Maria Abramovich and Podesta, Clinton, Epstein, they're like the little junior introductory versions of the psychopaths that are in the capstone. Yeah. And the censorship, that's for our benefit, by the way. It makes it a little easy for us to use discernment through scripture and follow the Most High. But if there wasn't the censorship and cannibalism wasn't as occulted as we all may be more inclined to actually adopt it through the crowd. So I'm glad that the censorship is there. Otherwise, society might be completely trashed.
Well, I mean, it already is to a way,
right.
To a degree, completely trashed. But it certainly does, to a degree, it does help to not see everything open in the light of day, just how gross it is, because it is pretty gross. But on the other hand, for me, understanding it certainly helps me, again, be aware of it and use discernment. And that is, I think, the most underused tool that has been given to us is our thought process and our ability to discern things. And most people have abdicated their discernment over to authority, right? So as long as the authority tells them what to do, they actually, many people enjoy not having the responsibility of making that decision. Well, they told me to, so I do it. It's the Nuremberg defense. I was just following orders. So there are many people who actually prefer that.
And that's their God.
Yeah, I am not one. Exactly. That's who they've abdicated their will to. And that is the only being that I will, again, give that position to. But even he doesn't take it from me. He tells me what to do. They, I guess people would say, why do you say he? I get it's a common thing, but for me, it's they, he and she and Junior, however, but them I relate to. But they give me the options, like this is, and it's up to me to choose to do it. Nobody's making me do anything. But that's
they put out things like space-time so convoluted and so juxtaposed, and so what you do in order to accept something like space-time, you have to make what you would call them a leap of faith. So you could be arrogantly believing that you understand it, when the truth is really space and time. We're on a giant clock here. Where we are in space is simply where we are in time. It's woven together. If you move in space, you move in time. If you talk to somebody else in a different space, guess what? They're in a different time. It's so simply woven. It's so clean. It's so beautiful. And they take things like that and they make it a vanity game. They make it that, we're going to put all of these complicated numerical values and formulas and everything. And if you can say, like, you understand this, you are super smart.
Exactly as I was describing before, like music, right? Or cooking. You could describe those things in mathematical concepts and using long equations, but no one would be able to play any kind of music or cook anything if you did that. Only savant mathematicians. It's retarded.
It's only to make people feel smart.
Exactly. Or to make others
only
feel
to appeal
dumb.
to vanity. Yeah. It's to appeal to your vanity. You're like, you can say, I understand this, and everybody else is too stupid to get it. But you know what? You're lying to yourself because you understand something that's not real.
Yeah, right. And again, keep people out. Most of academia, the terms and jargon that they use is specifically to keep people. It's a guardian, right? It's a walled garden.
Absolutely.
It's designed to keep people out. They go, oh, that's just too complicated. I can't do that. And even the practitioners who know it only know it to a degree. And this is exactly what I think about the periodic table of elements, is that with chemistry, is the way that they describe it limits you completely into understanding what it is. Once you realize that it's all frequency and vibration, it opens
just little charges is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes so simple.
Simple. Yes, it becomes clean
and beautiful, right? It's no longer this just unimaginable thing that you can sort of think about in a weird, abstract, sort of obtuse way. It suddenly is cymatics, right? It's suddenly these beautiful designs and a way that you can instantly relate to, and that it relates to everything. You suddenly understand everything is connected with this frequency and vibration. But they again stop that. They prevent it by breaking it all up in exactly the same way that they do in education. Instead of allowing people to become polymaths and encouraging it so you have a better look at the whole picture, they prevent it by making you specialize. And when you specialize, it's just the same as compartmentalization. It's need to know. So
you learn you lose the whole picture entirely. Exactly. They fill you with gobbledygook, and they get to because you're compartmentalized. I'm sorry, keep going.
Even your whole area of specialization, Cammie, right? So you can't even understand your own thing because you can't really see how it works because you don't understand how everything works. If you understood how this worked and that worked, then you would see, of course, that works the same with your own area of expertise, and then you would not believe it the way they taught it to you because it wouldn't.
Baldini as example in gemology, synthetic. What does synthetic mean to you? It means fake, artificial, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
In gemology, in order for something to be a synthetic stone, it has to have every exact quality as the natural. It has to be grown. It is a grown stone above ground instead of in the ground. But you call something that's fake an imitation, but a synthetic is actually 100% real. Everything about it is real.
The prefix, the synth, as in synthesizer, to bring together.
I was just going to say that's not, that's the colloquial use of it, and that's why I gave you the answer. But to synthesize, right, is to bring, to bring together. Exactly.
Right. So, but they confuse the language in compartmentalization. Unless you have that background, you assume that synthetic is fake. They tricked you.
In everything. They do this in everything. They flip the meaning upside down from what it actually is, right, to confuse you. And most of it, again, is fear. That's where I come from.
Well, they write a dictionary. They can't hold it all to themselves, so they write a dictionary, and you just read their dictionary, get the terms, boom, you win.
And learn some Latin, for fuck's sake. It is not a dead language.
No.
I love Latin. Keep going.
They're keeping it in the basement, right? It's not dead. They're just, it's the crazy uncle that they've kept locked in the basement. They don't want you to know about it because everything, all roads lead to Rome. You learn a little Latin. My conjugation sucks in every language. My verbs are just piss poor. But one of the things that's beautiful about Latin is it's an inflected language, meaning that the intention of the verb is carried in it. So that makes it perfect for spell casting. And why do you think almost every grimoire is written in Latin? And that's why for many hundreds of years, the Catholic Church would only allow the Mass to be in Latin and the Bible to be in Latin because there is power in intention and spoken word.
Yes, there is.
It's all tied together. So again, do yourself a favor and learn a little bit of Latin. I should, take my own advice on that and learn to really speak it. But, again, I know enough to be dangerous, I suppose, but you can get so much. If you look at anything scientific in terms of genus and organization in the animal and mineral kingdom, everything is.
You can't get into word origin without learning Latin. You follow, right? As soon as you start looking at the origins of words when you study, once you do that, you have no choice in the matter then to look at Latin
or medical, right? So
medical, especially, and any of the tech languages or any of the things like that, for sure.
Exactly. Or
alchemy.
Legal,
gemology. Any of them. It's take your fields there.
Material
take science
or squishy sciences, right?
Yeah.
Any of the
science which cannot follow the laws of grammar. Gotta love it.
That's good. Yeah. So. I encourage that because they keep saying Latin is a dead language that died off around 500 AD, and that's total poppycock. Most really serious scientific works up until the late 1800s were written in Latin, right? And they still taught it in the United States, just in grammar school. They taught it up until the 1930s. So, yeah.
They didn't offer it in my school, but I know there's a military academy, Culver Military Academy in northern Indiana, out in the middle of nowhere. And there's like 106 different countries where people send their kids to this school. And they don't play football or basketball, or they play lacrosse and rowing and things like that.
Oh,
but
yes.
They taught Latin there.
Oh, I see. It's one of those places, yes.
Yeah.
I'll get your nose out, I guess. I was raised in this environment, don't you know?
But yeah, they taught Latin there. I think it was required.
Yeah.
I had a friend, she was looking to send her daughter there. It was like $37,000 a year. And this was K through 8, something like that. Yeah, it wasn't for like college kids or anything like that. This was definitely younger prep school.
I was going to say, Ben Grizzly Adams says, I don't understand. There is intention in Latin. Okay, so it's an inflected language. And what that means, Ben, is the intention is carried in the verb. So in English, well, there are some languages that are better at some things than others. So, for example, German is very precise. They don't use adjectives and adverbs the same way we do. They make a longer compound word, and it makes it very specific. So instead of saying red fox, right, it would be one longer word, red fox, right? That specific kind. And French, on the other hand, is very, it's very full of implicature. It's not direct. And both have been used for those reasons as legal languages, official legal languages, because, French is, again, it's implied. There's a lot of just implicature there. So you can, you have double entendre, right? So it was used for political stuff for a lot of times. You could say things and imply them without backing yourself into a corner, whereas German is very great for engineering. Well, English is a language that, for example, is very good at descriptive things. It's very visual, but it does a really shitty job at describing things of the inner world and your nature. So we have one word for love, and how many ways do we use that, right? Even the Greek has, 5 words and lots of like 26 words that sort of are in that neighborhood. So, you can say, I love pizza. What does that really mean? And so the inflected language, or carrying the intention in the verb. So, for example, in English, we could say you walked or you went over there. But in Latin, it would very clearly describe the intention, the purpose with which you went from here to there. I'm trying to think of examples, but again, my verb conjugation is really shitty, and I don't want to embarrass myself, right? The one I used, for example, is nolo con copulatus. Right? Fuck with me not. It's very clear, right? Not with me to fuck, right? So
Did you look that up so you could do a bumper sticker of that?
No, it was on my desk for a number of years, right? It's just something I just used to say, fuck, fuck with me not, and I just put it into Latin. So that was it was like a coat of arms over my desk for a number of years. It was nolo con copulatus, and it's probably still a little bit off. I have a couple of friends who are really good at it, and they've worked in the the legal field, so they got really good at Latin, and they can just do it on the fly, because there are not just male and female. They don't just gender it, but they again. I'm trying to think of some examples, and I know I'll get lost if I try, but I can kind of explain it to you. That, for example, in English, you could say the dog saw the bear, right? And if you change those words around, you can kind of come off. The dog bear he saw kind of still has a similar meaning, but if you flip the subject and the object, then it means a different thing. The dog saw the bear saw the dog, and that means something different. In Latin, you could never do that. There's always the intention of who's doing what. And so you could flip them around. It would be very interesting for poetry. You could change it for different reasons, but you would never lose the intention of the language. And that's what makes it so powerful. And there is, again, there's just slight differences in the way the verb comes off that will tell you if it's singular or a plural doing the action. And you can tell what the action is in the verb. And again,
are there any like saw and saw, like he saw and then
Oh, homonyms like that? The homonyms? Yeah, not so much like that. And especially not in the same way that you get in some Asian languages, where that inflection is a different kind of thing, where it's how you say it that makes the difference. And you can say some things that are very polite and some things that are very impolite just by the way it's the same word, just by the way you change it. It's not that kind of inflection. The inflection has to do with the meaning in the verb. But no, homonyms and that sort of thing, not as much as there are in English. There are a number of things, and even in English, there are words that are spelled the same, but then pronounced differently and have different meanings, like minute and minute, right? Produce and produce, bow and bow. You have a variety of these words that allow you to read and read. Right, there's some, unless you know the context, you could really misdo that word. And so I think that has been used in a way for, and again, just the word spelling. Right, to spell a word implies that you're casting a spell. And so I think there have been many ways in which I think English is there's some very stinky things about the way it was put together that does seem constructed to me, and constructed by somebody with an intellect to me beyond human. But it's a trickster language. It does seem to allow somebody to speak two languages sort of on top of each other without one party really understanding what's going on, because they think they know what the word means, but that's not what it means at all.
Now, Latin backwards, does that do anything? If you play Latin backwards, does it say Latin words sometimes?
You know, that's I haven't looked into. I know the reverse speech thing is very interesting, and that's a very interesting topic where it seems as if that the subconscious does play these things out, and you can. I've never looked really, Zach, into whether or not that phenomena happens in Latin. I have heard that it does happen regardless of the if you have an accent, like our lovely friends from the UK and down under have. Of course, they would say they don't have the accent. We do. It's probably accurate, but it does occur that way. And I've also heard that it occurs in Italian. Again, I can't prove that firsthand. Yes, Bob is a palindrome. That's correct. It's forwards and backwards. But yeah, I don't know. Language is a fascinating thing, and I love a lot of Marshall McLuhan's work on linguistic determinism and how the idea that our language really not only defines our expression but controls our thoughts.
If you want to conduct business, you speak English. If you want to play music, you do it in Italian. If you want to talk to God, you do it in Spanish. And if you want to talk to dogs and horses, you do it in German.
But German seems so scary. Ausgeschnitten. It's like, whoa, easy, buddy.
Cammie wants to talk about the gamut and music and the Masonic G.
Oh, do I? Okay, I'm talking about it in the chat. I'm sorry, we're off topic. We can go there if we want. As part of it, it's kind of a weird dropping spot, but where we're talking about is the scale, the gamut. When you're talking Latin, it would be a good one to even pull up and go into it. The gamut is one of those fabulous words that is Latin and has Latin roots on it, and I believe it is the G on the Mason board. The reason I believe this is looking at it historically. The gamut starts at base G, which is the lowest frequency man can hear. It's the start of where we pick up waves as where we perceive them as man. It then continues to run the whole wave spectrum, the gamma through the entire, some Baldini or Red take me through this, but through every color, every radiation, every microwave, every macro wave.
The entire length of the electromagnetic radiation spectrum from, and all of those things are included. So as Cammie just described, everything from sound waves is, again, air pressure. It's a different kind of wave, but it all happens within the same ether. But light, all the colors of light, all the radio waves, gamma waves, microwave, radiation, X-rays, all that happens within the electromagnetic spectrum. And from one end to the other is called the gamut.
And the gamut, even though it's called the gamut, it historically has that very, very, very specific, very, very specific starting point. And the starting point is base G, and it sets the scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. G is source. It's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but G is source in here. It's source. If you put it on any of the scales for people that follow different things, you might see it as purple as a color on the rainbow. The rainbow starts at purple and ends at purple. It's your spectrum. It's your, so it's saying that you have a starting, it's the full range, but it has that starting point. So in the beginning was the word, and the word was the full spectrum. It began where we start to hear it, and it runs through everything we see and feel.
The alpha to omega,
The alpha to omega. It's the gamut. And I believe that, again, everything on that Masonic tracing board, or that you can put the little pieces together, and when you put them together, it comes out pretty interesting. It's a list of instructions.
And one of my favorite keys to play in, by the way.
What's the first thing they do when they're starting to build a Masonic building? What's the first brick they lay? What's that called?
Cornerstone.
Cornerstone.
The cornerstone.
And what is the cornerstone of the human aural spectrum? What is the cornerstone of our spectrum of hearing? It's G.
It's got to be G. I see it as G, and I don't know. I haven't looked at it in the way that
if that's the foundation, if that is the lowest,
the foundation. It's
if that's the lowest, now think about it. The cornerstone is what? The lowest brick. The foundation, the cornerstone, G.
What's really interesting is that many things, including the background radiation, the cosmic background radiation, is in B flat, and that would be a minor third from G. Which, okay, so is the music of the spheres actually a sad minor key now? Did it drop a half step?
Right. It depends on context. It depends on context, Baldini. Yeah, because that
those
interval.
Those are your subharmonics.
Yeah,
that's how you get your dodecahedron. Yeah.
Right.
Because it would have gone from a major to a minor, right? That's G minor. So you would just drop that one half step, and that's all it takes is to go from happy to sad.
Right.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I find these things, these things are fascinating. Like when people do chants, they naturally intonate to F. Like I always found that one fascinating because it's an odd key, and one that you don't find a lot of popular songs written in. A lot of popular songs are written either in the key of G. A lot of them are D, which is a fifth, perfect fifth from G. Some of them are A, which again is a perfect fifth away from the D, so you're following the circle of fifths. And then often again you'll come back to C. But F is a strange one, and yet when people do, for example, at basketball games, and when they'll mock somebody and go air ball, it's almost always a natural F, and then B flat is the fourth of an F. So these things are again fascinating to me. The natural...
F is like the chord they use to change it.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
You can't always get what you want. It's always you try sometimes. Right there is that F.
Yep, exactly.
And it's just
and it's a transitional. Yeah, it's a transitional sound.
Will be your hex, your 6. I mean, your F is your 6 before your 7G, because 7 and 1 or 7 and 0 the whole in 7th heaven, that's all G. I mean, they're both G. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or you could count it 1 through 8. But where I'm curious in music is where they try to hex it, or like if you think of a rainbow and the 7 colors of the rainbow, and of course you repeat the 7 colors, you repeat the purple to get the 8. You'll notice that like in the LBGT rainbow, they hexed it. Hexing is something they do all of the time in spell casting. To hex something and change it from 7 to 6 is to cast a spell. To hex is in Latin, it means to cast a spell. Anytime you change the natural 7 scale, harmonic 7 scale to 6, you are casting a spell and hexing it. I think they do it in music, and I'm hoping Baldini will be able to be the person that can explain to me where they hex the music along the way, because I'm sure.
There are 2 ways that they did it, and the first is they used to correspond musical values, or the tonic value, the frequency, with a color instead of the keys initially. And so I was just trying to find the exact reference for that, because I didn't. Let's see, I don't remember. It goes back before even Baroque music, that they were music. They gave each chord a color, the orange color or the blue.
They should have quarters. They should. G is purple, A is red, and take it up the scale. They do have color. They should. Yeah, they come with colors.
And then, so they did that, and then they did another thing called tempered tuning, because it's all based on the Pythagorean theorem. And usually, most early musical instruments, and we still do, like the guitar, for example, these are based on the vibration of a string that you either pluck or hammer.
I see music in color, by the way.
Yeah. So synesthesia, do you have kind of a general synesthesia? Some people taste colors or sounds. That's an interesting one. My wife has a little bit of synesthesia. So it's a fascinating thing. I can experience it by relaxing and sort of getting into the mind space, but it's not something that naturally appears that way. Although I do see sound in color. When I do audio, I can walk into a room, for example, to set it up to tune it. And I can see it in color, exactly where the sound is going to go and exactly what the vibrations are going to look like. But that is, years of experience doing it. But yeah, I can see it directly. But the way that they hexed it, some of the biggest ways are to change it from a natural color frequency, again, to give it numerical values. I mean, of course, they vibrate at a certain
it's not even the color frequency. In other words, the scale runs. Space 10 is a lie. The scale runs an octave that overlaps.
That's correct.
That's how counting works. So
that's correct.
They would have had to change your count. Yeah.
And in the Western musical paradigm, there are 12 semitones, and then with that, it's 8. It's an octave. There are 8 notes in a scale based on 12 semitones, which allows you to get there. And then tempered tuning is something that allows you to kind of fudge a little bit, because again, when the strings to make
I love that G string.
There you go. And so if you've noticed,
Me too.
Yeah. So when you notice when you're tuning a guitar, right, that G string is always a bitch, man. G and D, they want to drop out of tunes because it's not quite right. And so, in fact, for guitar, there's a thing called Buzz Feiten, which does kind of tempered tuning for guitars like they do in piano. So the way they do it at a piano, for example, is they use 3 different strings, and they tune one a little sharp and one a little flat, and your ear kind of puts it together in the middle, and thus allows it a little bit of cheating. It fudges a little bit. And so tempered tuning is the way that they kind of get around that, but because they're not using natural series. It's not a natural progressive series.
I figured that out like naturally, because I do my D string a little flat and my G string a little sharp.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Buzz Feiten system does. They change the nut on your guitar, and it's a physical thing. You can go to a luthier who does the work, but it's a specific system that does it by a specific amount. But it's exactly what it does. It bends one a little flat, one's a little sharp, but your ear puts it together. And so when you make a C chord, which is always a really trouble, the first position C comes off really strange and a little dissonant until you get this process down. Or if you do what you do, which is to tune it ever so slightly off, it resolves pretty nicely. So G chord and a C, a natural major C in the first position on guitar, comes out sounding really nice. And again, most people, their ear is sensitive enough to know it, but they don't know why they know it, right? They haven't done enough research or trained their ear to know these differences. And the ear is actually super finely tuned. It's tuned to 0.3% of 1%, 0.3% of a frequency, right?
We are remarkable.
I'm sure
beings. We really are.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm sure being a musician, you and Red have both seen the guitars that are, I don't know who makes them. I can't remember, but the frets look like lightning bolts in some places because they're all set up to be perfectly intonated.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Gretsch or who does
that. Who it was? I can't remember.
Yeah, but the lightning bolts. But the intonation is a really, it's a big thing when you're setting up a guitar. And like I said, it's started about early 2000s, but a guy named Buzz Feiten came up with a system for guitars to use kind of a tempered tuning for guitars, but without obviously using multiple strings. And one of the reasons, for example, that a 12-string guitar sounds good, right, is because they're using multiple, 2 strings for each one, and they do that same little trick, and so it gives a chorus sort of feel, makes it sound bigger and fuller. And the lower strings use an octave string, and then the rest of them are in unison. But so back to Cammie's question about where did they fudge? fudge it, or where did they hex it? So there are two areas. And then finally, the biggest one most recently is they took, again, the natural frequencies that we've always used, specifically what we call concert tuning. They took the A below middle C, or what we call A1, and they made that 440 hertz instead of 432.
Bingo.
And
bingo.
So again,
they changed the harmonics.
They changed the harmonics, exactly.
The resonance.
All the resonant frequencies change, and so everything that vibrates with that, including the human body, changes because you resonate
of that. Yes.
Differently. So again, normally this is A, and that's 440 hertz, and that's A, and that's 880 hertz, and the A below it is 220, so it's half. And so this is the mathematical progression that it goes through. But when they changed it from 432 to 440, it went from creating, if you looked at it in cymatics, or whenever you vibrate material, it begins to show it becomes a cohesive pattern. 432 is a very beautiful flower pattern, and 440 is a broken up, dissonant thing. And what happens is, yeah, exactly. And psychologically, it creates tension. It creates tension within your mind rather than the natural release and harmony that you would get from the natural tones. So they have really, really fucked us. And in all music, they changed. Again, Rockefellers paid for that. And between the Rockefellers in the U.S. and Nazi Germany, literally, and doing all the Wagner stuff, they changed it to 440 and made that the concert's pitch standard around the world. And that's
it's very intentional. This, by the way, very, very,
absolutely,
very intentional.
Yeah, they definitely know the nature of our environment.
They do.
Absolutely. G is the cornerstone. Okay, and then back in the previous Masonic texts, they were talking about God. Okay, which God?
With the little G.
Yeah, not the Most High. We're talking about the adversary, and they're just always talking about God and the grand architect and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the architect of their world, their world,
the material world. Yeah,
exactly. And this is something that Crow 777 talks about pretty frequently, right? Is that this artificial construct that they cannot be God of the natural world, and they didn't create it, but so they create an artificial world, right? So that they can be God of that. And this leads right into the idea of AI and transhumanism. Now, see,
they are trying to. There is a God. I mean, there is a. What's funny is if you start modeling like the universe upwards and not look at the different effects by adding in the firmament, the magnetic field, and the optics, and looking down, you'll see that everything works like a magnifying glass. And when you look through the top and down, you see everything. Again, it's like looking through a big magnifying glass on there. That's the eye on the top. They have the things. I mean, I think they have a way. They have a way around. They have a way around it, as they phrase it, a truck stop instead of St. Peter, a way through, to get through the gates. It's not St. Peter, not through the firmament. What they're doing is evil.
Yeah, it is evil. Again, Jesus spoke directly about this, right? That that anybody else is the enemy comes to rob, steal, and destroy, and he tries to circumvent going through the gate.
Through the gate. What people don't understand, we live in a very real world. It's a real construct. These things exist, or at least in the way I see it.
Well, there is, solid material, objective truths. These things are the pillars of our world, if you will. Although it may appear as a construct, it's to my view because we were meant to be in tune with it and observe it in a particular way. And what's happened is from birth, right, when they put the silver nitrate in your eyes to supposedly stop conjunctivitis, but I think it blinds you. And they say that all children are born with blue eyes, but the silver is really what makes the eyes turn blue for a little bit. But it does blind you to being able to see further into the electromagnetic spectrum. Specifically, it's the very first thing that they do as soon as they cut the umbilical cord, right? Separate you from the placenta and do a lot of stuff they're not supposed to do. The very next thing that they do is to blind you from potentially seeing more than you should. But everything that they do thereafter is designed to blind you and to keep you from seeing too much. right? And that's how I look at it. So that all of these things, all of these lies have been made to misdescribe the world we exist in, so we see it in a false reality, something that's not really real, and dismiss the truth as being false.
Yep.
And with that, I have reached my 6:59. And I made promises. So if you got anything for me on my way out, this is the stuff where I get stuck on, because these topics I could go forever, right?
And ever.
We would want you to as well. Look, we appreciate the hours, and again, sorry about the mix-up on the times.
Dude, probably totally my fault, actually. Like, seriously, it's been a heck of a week for me, and it promises to continue going. Tomorrow morning, Red and I are going to get together and discuss these things more at length, and I know my mind's going to be blown. So.
And I haven't been able to stop Skyping either one of them random thoughts, and whether in the middle of shows and that, I'll go out playing the rocks and just start texting away. So sorry, guys.
I loved it. I have loved it all week.
Okay.
So you'll keep getting that, and we'll keep sending it your way. Keep sending it our way. Don't let us get out of the loop, for damn sure.
Okay, well, we definitely got stuff that we're thinking about, and the more I come in contact with people like Red and Mark and Cammie, Megsy, the more I come in contact with these people, and they go, "Hey, did you ever think about?" And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
oh, why you do it to me, man?"
That's what it's all about.
I love getting the puzzle pieces, and the more you get them, the more the picture becomes clear. This is the shit that I live for, man. This is awesome.
Yep.
And I'm stuck between wanting to speak up and join in, or just sit back and enjoy listening. So,
well, I do have a reputation for being rather loquacious, and it's hard to get me to stop talking.
I appreciate it. I do.
Yeah, Josh and I are conscientious objectors, or whatever. Yeah, we're not made for radio. I don't know how we do it.
Just put a countdown. There's a little thing in OBS. I think you can put a little 3-minute countdown clock and give them 3 minutes.
Speakers all the time. And the thing about me, Zach, as I've long said that I have a great voice for TV and a great face for radio. So.
Right. You see how often I put my camera out.
There you go. I keep the camera pretty much in the off position, because most of the time I'm on natural, as we like.
We'll do show.
Yeah, well, it's the naked truth. That's what we got going on there. But that's a result of being with my wife. She taught me the ways of casting off the clothing, and it's like, yeah, that's comfortable. I'll take that. And it's just, it's natural. That's all. We don't run around outside naked or anything. We don't blind the neighbors, but it's not like that, right? But anyway,
I love your wife already.
There are times we might be glad that we got blinded at birth. Anyway,
in any case, it's always a pleasure for me to join you guys. And again, it's always, usually I just go long, because I the people that I work with, they would never imagine me doing this, because I'm pretty much mute. I don't talk to any of them because they don't have anything interesting to say, right? And then I get involved with you guys, and I'm like, I can go forever. So I love it.
Well, thank you again, man, for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Door is open, certainly. Come hang out, come say hey.
Don't say that, because I know Red will do it. I know I will do it. We'll just pop in and we'll just dive in.
You're now family and part of the crew, so yep, come on in.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
That would make me so happy. I love it when I just get surprised.
Again, you never be careful what you ask for, brother, because I will show up and just. I'll bomb your show.
Yeah, Josh and Walt, I'd love to be with you just two, so maybe we could talk about something. Man. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you an early bird?
Red, if you want to stick around and make up for the lost time when I wouldn't let you talk, feel free to do that. I just have commitments I got to keep. So, but I will join you, or you'll join me tomorrow morning at 9:00 Pacific time and noon Eastern on Unintended Consequences. That's my channel. You can join us live if you like, and we're gonna dive into some cool stuff that Red has got. I've been itching for more than 2 weeks now to really dive into it. So it's going to be really terrific.
If the sun comes up tomorrow, it's going to be a very unusual day. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And
well, those channel links are both in the show description, everybody. So go get subbed if you have not. You should already have done that. Go do it. Get it done.
And Cammie, I gotta have you either back, or we're just gonna have to do some side shows every now. I mean,
anytime, guys. I love it. This is the discussion. I love it. I love it. So I'd be honored anytime.
And anytime you want me to translate for you, I'm happy to do that, because
I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Happy to do that. So, I was talking to Rose 777 before what I think it was either Tuesday or Thursday's Poppycock Report. We were talking before the show, and I said, you know who I love? And I could just hear her cocking her head, and I went, well, of course you, right? I said, Cammie Dodell, and she's like, I knew you were going to say that. I'm like, we haven't stopped talking since we did the show. It's like been nonstop. And she's like, oh, that's so awesome. And of course, everybody loves Rose. She's awesome.
I also sent messages to her saying, I love this man, Rose.
It's been a blast. My mind has exploded this week, because every time I'll just start thinking about one thing, and then you'll get me off on another thing. And if you saw the way my mind works like a pachinko machine, you're feeding the beast. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's Japanese slot machine. If you don't know.
Yeah. It's
Baldini put the chinko in pachinko. Chinko means penis.
Yeah, I certainly put the fun back in dysfunctional. I got that going, which is nice. But guys,
Did you put always the Dini in Baldini?
Yeah, well, I've got the ball in Baldini's, but carpet matches the drapes. If it's a hardwood floor, no. Nemo says, like, this wasn't a sideshow. You're not kidding there, brother.
Nah, he is not wrong there.
Not wrong.
Sound
about
effects,
that.
Josh.
Yeah. So, Walt, Josh, it has been a pleasure, and John, I think Roxanne has gone to sleep on us. I don't blame her.
Sita might still be there. She might be listening.
Yeah, well, she'll be bored to death. Sometimes I'm like, I don't listen back to my shows. I'm like, no, I already know what I said, I think. Anyway, Red, I look forward. Get you some sleep, man. I look forward to talking to you again in the morning, and to seeing all of my favorite people there. And with that, I will leave you guys in capable hands, and have a great night.
Thank you so much, Baldini. Big shout out to Megsy in chat.
Take care.
Megsy wants to see the last slide. I'm not sure what we were displaying, because I was meandering about on the wireless, so I don't know what was showing.
For sure.
But do we know what the last slide was?
I'm sure I can find it. Last slide.
Why did somebody hold on? Somebody is timing add and deleting Megsy. Music, I believe.
I don't know.
Maybe a musical scale. Megsy, I don't know, but I, if you think about it, or if we do that, I want to talk to Red more. I for sure would love to.
Yeah, that's no way in any way is it.
It was
over.
in beige. It was in beige. It was a slide in beige, and we'll have to go. I don't know how I can't on the show because we're live going back on it. I don't know what the slide would be, but we can like pull it out and talk about it on another show on the thing, especially if you grab a screenshot of it.
Yeah, and Cammie, you need to do an entire series on everything that you did in the last video, just step by step.
Right.
It's so important. It's so beautiful.
Will somebody help walk me through it, though? In other words, I'll do it step by step.
Yeah,
I'm
decades. You have decades and decades.
I have decades of work. I have decades
Yeah.
of work in all kinds of jumbled fashion. So if you can isolate on any topic, I do have decades of work.
So can you see your screen right now, Cammie?
I can see my screen right now.
I'm pretty sure this is the slide to which Megsy was referring.
Are we talking about the pillar?
I think so. This is straight from the Masonic
Is that
Lodge.
it, Megsy? Is this it? I'm getting confirmation that this
You
is
said
what
it
she
was
wants.
beige. That's.
She said it was beige.
I was just.
I have a lot to talk about pillars.
It
Anybody
may have
that
just
knows
been
me at
one
all.
of the show description pictures where you.
Yeah. I think she
Here.
thought it was with music, but anybody
this
that
one?
knows me at all will know I will talk with you hours and hours
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
on pillars. Okay, he just got it up now, Megsy. I'm sorry to delay. She's saying yes.
That must
okay, that's yes. That's one of the pillars. I'm trying to look at this. I don't have my reading glasses on. Do we have Joachim or Boaz there? Which can somebody tell me what we have here? Oh, the height of the pillar. Okay, yeah, these are instructions on making the pillars, and it's telling you exactly the scale to make it to. The pillars are very important. The pillars are what you place. We don't have, maybe I should share screen a little bit. Let's see if I can do this. Share screen, host disabled, screen sharing. Oops, can't do that.
Me and Asita's eyes are glued to the screen, by the way. Me and Asita are just like, our jaws are on the table and we're like...
We faced on and then we just tuned in.
Yeah.
Hi, ladies.
Is there any way I can share a screen? Because I don't...
Walt has the power, I believe.
Walt, do you have the power?
Oh, I forgot I was powerful. Let me do it. My apologies. I usually am just so powerful.
I'm getting... Megsy, I would show you. I'm waiting for it, but I need to get the big orange... warning up at my...
Did that work? Are you able to do your things now?
Oh, I am now. Let's see. I'm going to pop in a weird place. Let's see if I can get this.
Anyone else that I can bequeath power upon?
My husband's bringing me glasses. He's so cool. Okay, forgive me. This is a weird way of getting...
All right, let me get you up. You just keep looking.
Okay. Megsy. Do you guys still, I think I need to bring this over. Do you see it now? Do you see what I'm displaying? It should be a declination map.
I don't see it on YouTube yet, Cammie.
Okay, what about anybody? I'm moving the screen to screen. I don't know if I've got it in the right layer.
I'm seeing it on Zoom finally, so it may take a second.
I see the pile of pictures is what I'm looking at, not a single.
Wow, that's a big delay, yeah.
Okay, there's a big delay. You should see, do you have it where I pulled out the one that's on the bottom left? I've made it large. It might not be coming over. It might have made itself a different layer on my machine.
Yeah, it's made it the other layer. You have to, I think.
It's made it the other layer. How do I open it and as what we're looking at?
One of your tabs.
When I do that, it makes a new tab. Okay, it's been real difficult. It really does not want me to show this.
Josh, this is all like bonus hour anyway, right? So it's all.
What about now?
Hell yeah!
After hours, chill time.
What about now?
Nope, still your other pictures.
Okay, I'm going to start over again and close it because it's going to be difficult. So I'm going
there you go. Open your picture and then screen share the picture that you want.
How about this one? That's what I'm doing.
Well. No, you're still
open
screen
it
sharing.
and then share it. Yeah.
Stop screen sharing.
That's what I
open
need
the picture and then start screen sharing.
Okay, let's do. Open the picture.
Stop screen sharing.
Share. Yep.
Now
Sorry,
open
people.
the picture.
And now I'm going to. Oops! Now I have more than one screen, and every time I do this, my screens jump around.
I know, it's ridiculous. There's a two-screen option on Zoom. So it automatically pops up on the other screen, anything that gets screen shared. So one is always your conversation, and then the other one's anything that's screen shared.
Okay, I think I can do it now. Let's see if I do it this way. I'm going to now... speaker view big, share screen here. You guys, thank you for putting up with me on this. Aha. Share.
Bam.
Bam. We'll try to get through some of these too with it not being so difficult. But Megsy, if you look, this is like a stretched out. It's not it's a distorted map. But if you look at the map, you'll notice there's a dipole or a pillar here. Baldini, do you want to take me about the quadrupole in the middle and the pillar out here, or do you want me to try it?
Yeah, I'll be Baldini. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you're not Baldini. Okay, never mind. Okay. Damn it.
No. You can do it. Bipole and the quadrupole, right? And there has to be.
You have a dipole. You have a dipole here. You have a quadrupole in the middle. You have what would have to be another dipole.
It has to connect.
It has to connect.
Right.
Magnetically, if you look at...
Is it just me? I'm not seeing on the now I'm seeing mine on the main thing.
I see it on the main one, I think, or I don't know if I'm looking in. I think I'm looking on the main screen with the audience.
Okay, never mind. I must have hit a button. Okay, sorry. Apologies.
Okay, so you would have a pillar here, a dipole pillar, a pillar here. You have a quadrupole in the middle. If we took us magnetically again, and we're going to do this quickly and see how we can go, but magnetically, quadrupoles are really interesting. They have a lot of fabulous properties, what you would call magical properties. Amongst one of the things that they can do is they create something called a magnetic trap or a magnetic shield or a dome over a quadrupole field. They're really, really quite remarkable. They use them at CERN. You can, on quadrupoles itself, get lost and go down a rabbit hole and I did, all into itself without coming, out of it. But there are different ways you can create a quadrupole. One of the ways you can create a quadrupole is think of taking four magnets and doing a positive and negative, a positive and negative. So have four pillars and just make them opposite of each other. Another way you can create a quadrupole is take two pillar magnets and lay them side by side. And again, reverse the positive, positive, negative, positive, negative. You can see the quadrupole pattern on it. Another way they do this, and this is how they do it in industry, is if you wrap coils correctly, you get what's called a Helmholtz coil or an anti-Helmholtz coil. What you looking at in the middle here is displayed as an anti-Helmholtz configuration. And anybody that's got a history in, I would say, electronics or that will know the power of a Helmholtz coil and what it can do. We'll take it further. What they don't tell you is there's another way to create that quadrupole. And how you would do that is, let's see if this is going to, sorry, we're going to share like this to get you to, if you take two pillars, two dipoles, and you position them correctly, you create counter space and a quadrupole in the center. It does it all on its own. These ones are positioned a little bit closer together. As you move them away, the shape of the quadrupole will move over in direction. It won't align as perfectly here. If you also, on the ferrocells, I don't know what Ken Wheeler does, the magic thing that he won't tell us that he puts in his ferrocell, but he's remarkably well at photographing under a ferrocell. It's very, very hard to do. Zach, it's amazing to get these pictures. If you're going to see the rest of the outline of this pattern, you would see that it's going to actually create, it's off a screen here, you can't get it, it's off of where the hole is, but it creates a hexagon pattern around it, and kind of like what's drawn in on this map. So if you take the two pillars, Joachim and Boaz, and you position them correctly, the quadrupole will create itself in the middle. Pay attention on the Mason boards and then the symbols are on the tarot cards and on the symbols. When you look at the world on a tarot card, you'll see it's somebody holding up two pillars and a picture of the world with the UN logo around it. It's placing the two pillars correctly because we live on a very physical realm. What you're looking at here, it's a very messy, let's see if I can, I've got to scroll down to get it in order to do it, but it's a very, going to take you back to that in the middle. What I did to get the turtle you were looking at is our WGS 84 data set is a flattened ellipsoid data set. They tell you flat out that it's not a globe, it's a flattened ellipsoid data set. So I took a flattened ellipsoid. Mine was named an adder bird. They're otherwise known as cuties, the little mandarin oranges. This one had a very thick, pliable skin. It was perfect for it. But I took a little flattened ellipsoid and I drew all of the longitude and the latitude lines on it, and I draw the continents on it, and I marked in the major trade routes and the flying routes and that, because really all travel takes place on very specific channels, the same channels that the cables run under, and it's not too many areas actually. And I took that and then I peeled it from what you would call Antarctica on that. And the reason I did it from the bottom point is if you peel from the bottom, and if you don't cut through any of the continents or anything, what you're doing is you're peeling out everything and keeping it in perfect time. You can't make a map or consider a map and move around the continents. We have a circling sun. Everything is in time, solar, noon. We covered that, even though they messed us up on it. And there are a couple of areas on the map that are definitely tweaked and need to be tweaked, but this will tell us. You can't just throw people out of time. You can't just move a continent willy-nilly anywhere. So by pulling it out that way, what it does is it keeps you in perfect time, and it keeps the integrity of all the longitude and the latitude lines. What it does when you open it up, which I won't show you my opened up oranges, my husband and Zach can attest to just how messy and gross they got. And it should be a beautiful world. How I did it here was I just printed out the northern hemisphere in size and the southern hemisphere in size, and I took the southern hemisphere and I cut it up in pieces. This has all of the pieces on the WGS84 on it, not just a couple of them or anything. It's not missing anything. It's the world on there. If you open it up, what happens is oops. It lays out a bit like this. This is not an orange. You would have to heal the lines, but it keeps all of the longitude, latitude lines. Keep in mind when you heal them, they connect through here. It keeps them all intact and pretty much in time with a little bit of minor alteration on it. It also sets your battery on. I believe this is a cold piece of land, a hot piece of land in this. But what it really, really tells you is with the magnetic patterns, when I showed you and getting the outline, in order to pin or put pillars to stabilize it, your land, you have to have a big piece of land here in order to hold your magnetic pattern, just like you have at Antarctica here, the pole that you see on the map. You have another, let's go back to the magnetics if I can get you. You have the one that's off the map is over here, and land is very, very much required on it. So you have a pole here that you see, and this is where Antarctica, or where we, Scott Adamson base and some different ones, there's definitely a pole here. There's a dipole here. Your compasses are going to go wild. It's nuts. You have a counter space here. And if you run a wire or a boundary around here, you're going to have all of your compasses, of course, pointing into your counter space. But you have a dipole here off of the map. And your dipole off the map requires land to run the pattern. You also, if you were stabilizing the pattern, you would need land at your four corners. The magnetics dictates that we know at one of our four corners, we have that piece of land under South America. The other pieces, the bases that we go to in Antarctica, are going to be on these four corners with the main group of bases we go to here. And my guess would be is that the ice wall is where the ocean freezes because of no sunlight between the different things. But we definitely, with the magnetic pattern, require four corners to go along with our two poles, because the magnetic pattern, if you look at these under your first cell, again, if you look at the patterns and play with them, it requires it. It does it itself.
And Cami, where is the Bermuda Triangle?
The Bermuda Triangle would be right in here. You're going to have areas of magnetic anomalies in here that, just like what we perceive as gravity is, let's do it this way. When we think of a toroidal field or everything, we just kind of think of it as this toroidal field spinning, but we're not looking at what a magnetic toroidal field produces. What it produces is it produces three parts of the field. It produces the ferromagnetic, the paramagnetic, and the diamagnetic. And until you stop and look and see what these things are doing, you're lost. So let's make it really easy. The ferromagnetic, that is the part that iron is attracted to. This is a static part of the field. This is what our declination map is. This would be if you took a magnet and you put a sheet of paper over it and you sprinkled iron filings and you get that pattern. that is your ferromagnetic. It is static. It is because it is magnetic attractive, and it is actually magnetic itself. When you look at stuff through a ferrocell, what you're picking up is you are picking up the ferromagnetic field. What would happen if you had a paracell and a diacell? What if you had a little something that you could look through and see what the paramagnetic action would be, or the diamagnetic action would be? I talked to some people that were very, very smart with this, because I actually was out hunting for paramagnetic fluid, which are most efficient paramagnetic fluid out there. By the way, the highest in parts per million is ironically a byproduct. It's considered contamination from cars that have copper transmissions, and it's considered tainted motor oil or something like that. But I was looking at that. I talked to somebody. I didn't actually have to obtain it. They said it explained the paramagnetic is a rotating. This is our star field, or this is what we pick up with rotation. This is what we pick up with the fog, gyro, and the ether rotation. It is the paramagnetic field. The paramagnetic is not magnetic. It is not drawn to the ground, or that it is a rotating field. Think of it as more the free flowing, the ether, the rotation of the field.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to hear what you think when you find out that you can actually manipulate the ether.
You can. I understand. I see how you could. The diamagnetic is what we perceive as gravity. The diamagnetic is at a 90-degree. It is constant. It is also a dynamic field. It is in motion always, and it runs 90 degrees parallel to the dielectric inertial plane, except for the fact that ground magnetics, like magnetic mountains on ground, and that will and can throw local gravity or angles. So you can't have anomalies in it. Devil's triangle is one of those anomalies. If you have a magnetic anomaly, gravity doesn't work. And so gravity might not, things could float up or down in that type of situation very easily. It's nothing more than a magnetic anomaly. And you can see and recreate magnetic anomalies in scale and see that you lose all gravity. So that area, if you were to pull the magnetics back up and see on the Devil's Triangle, we could do that. Oops, I just closed it. What do you have on the screen now? Did I close
Turtle.
out?
No,
turtle?
still on the turtle. Yeah.
You're still on the turtle. I don't have the turtle up on my screen. How do I change it? I closed the turtle. I'll be damned. Here it is. I found it.
I am fumbling. You teach me new levels that I don't even know. So yeah, I don't know. There, you did it. Okay.
So if you, the other thing about the poles and the turtle is if you take the two pillars and place them and create that the four corners and the quadrupole, the tree of life down the middle, if you take those and extrapolate it up and down, if you take our Earth's magnetics and see where our pole alignment is, I think that you'll see that one of them is Joachim, one of them is Boaz, which creates the tree of life, which creates the four corners of the world. I don't have the pillars on here. The reason it's different from a Sephiroth is if we get the pillars on, and I'm a very 3D person, if you place the pillars on correctly to create the pattern and you spin this in 3D, you'll get the Sephiroth view that they give you, showing where your realm here is either full or empty, where the firmament is here. These are just dynamics of spinning. They're spinning the Sephiroth and looking at and taking a snapshot at different angles. It's going to be empty from this angle with the pillars to the side, but if you run the pillars down the middle, you're going to have a spot there. That's why on your Sephiroth you'll see, that's the anomaly why the firmament is sometimes portrayed as empty and sometimes has what I would call a magnetic strap or a pillar on where the dots are.
I'm of the view that microcosm of exactly this is within our bodies, in the tree of life in our bodies, as depicted in the Temple of Solomon illustration.
Yeah, here's real messy, your seventh source. seventh heaven, your firmament, your terra, your hell taking you down through it, the colors, real messy.
Yeah, Sheol.
I'm dyslexic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a very dyslexic person. If the firmament, for people that are not familiar with like toys like I am, if the firmament really was, this is just me playing different things with it, if the firmament really was a vault of looking glass, it would function very much like that little hologram emitter that you see kids play with, that you put the frog down in and it makes the frog at the top. But this type of thing, if you were God making the firmament and creating a vault of looking glass, you would not use plastic toy and scratched up things. What you would really use would be the noble metals, the platinum, the iridium, the things that make the perfect mirrors. I mean, I know in jewelry we put rhodium finishes on everything because it was so shiny and bright. But when you do that, your power of colonization is off of the scale. And the thing about a natural hologram emitter as opposed to a digital hologram emitter is that it mirrors the gamut, the spectrum. So if you put a piece of ice in the hologram emitter, your hologram is cold. We've done this. Zach and I have tests on this up on his channel, Good Times for All. If you hit the hologram, if you take a dark hologram and you hit it with a UV light, not the object in the looking glass, but the hologram, you will, I'm showing it on this. I'm not showing it to you guys. It's so funny. I don't think I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it on, I thought I was sharing these pictures.
No, I think
the
you
hologram.
are. I think they're
Am I
still
showing
coming
it on
through.
this show?
I think so.
Oops, I stopped. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Sorry, I'll do it again. I'll do it. But the hologram itself, I'll bring it back up. Where do we have it? We'll bring. Sorry, we're going to try it one more time. I flunk tech. I do not like being connected to computers. You'll notice I do all of my stuff on the ground, not hooked on a computer. It's not comfortable for me.
Oh, trust me, it's a struggle. I understand.
So, Cami, what would you call your findings here? Is this more or less of an advanced flat Earth toroidal model?
No, this is the way that it's described in the Bible and in every cosmology. Is we are living on a physical realm. What they told you was true. It's let's share screen. Let's do it a different way. Share. Okay, so on, I don't know where my cursor is. I see that I'm sharing it and I don't have an open screen to do the cursor over it, because on my screen I have all the pictures. Let's close this one. Let's see if I can find it. This is crazy. Okay, so the Sephiroth.
Like you're looking at YouTube.
I'm completely, Zach, can you come in here? Because I see it on the main screen, but it's not on my, I think I got it. No, that's the YouTube screen. I'm screen sharing stuff. Okay, do you see my cursor now moving?
Yeah.
Yes.
A circle around this.
Yes.
Okay.
I went through about 2 weeks of this before I disconnected my second screen.
Okay. Oh, and now I'm watching it go on you guys. That's so weird. I have something really weird going on. Okay. No, that's not me. God, there's a delay. Zach,
Yeah,
I'm totally lost. I don't have.
Yeah, I'm coming.
You're just watching this on YouTube at the moment.
I'm watching on YouTube, but I don't have it anywhere else.
Here, hold on.
I'm stepping away from the machine.
Stop this.
And it is not even a shock that this is how we are at this point. At what?
There's a lot of beautiful, patient people here.
Which one are you?
Well, the stuff you're presenting is so amazing, and we want to figure out a way to consolidate it in one concise place so that it isn't a struggle for Cami to show it every time, because it's all in different pieces. So that struggling to get it from that paper model into that 3D model she's created with the toothpicks and the clay, and I looked at it and I tried to figure out a way, and I'm just not Photoshop enough to do it. So we need somebody a little more skilled in 3D.
Yeah, we can see it. Go ahead and blow up that all the way. See if you can make those pictures bigger. Just yet.
I can. Okay, like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, now were we on either the Sephiroth or the Vault of Looking Glass?
I believe
Where do you guys want to go? Okay, let's go to the Sephiroth. Okay, because we can go everywhere because we'll have to do this over and over again, I understand. But for people trying to do the Sephiroth, I want you to place the 2 pillars correctly. To make this, we live here. We live in a physical realm. This is the firmament, the shiny river that we travel on to make it to source. If we're good, we can ascend to heaven. Down here, this is a physical. Look at the discordant pattern, the volcanoes and everything. This magnetic pattern makes a very hot, discordant pattern. This is hell. It's a physical place, just like our poles here that you see, our dipoles are right here. The dipole takes, you put copper around the pillars. You build your pillars to spec. What it does is it separates the electricity and the magnetism. I'm probably phrasing this wrong, but it shoots and creates your tree on your energy up and down. This is the bound physical world. This is the firmament, the shiny river. The first it's not the high heaven, it's the other heaven that you go through to get to the high heaven, which is source. So if you did your levels on here, you would be G, source, A, B, C, D. Oops, we're doing it wrong on the thing because I don't have the pillars in. G, A, B, C, D. We have to on the EFG. I have to have the other pillars in to do it, but it's all, in other words, it's all. I'm not counting it right, but it's all. In other words, I believe that we're on a physical realm.
The other 2 pillars are E and F, right?
Yes. Yeah. So when you do this, in other words, if you take this pattern, your dipole, your quadrupole, your 4 corners that are created by the magnet, and this, it creates a very, very physical up and down realm. This magnetic pattern creates that toroid. You would see when Ken Wheeler turns it, you'd see it go into that toroid pattern, or the flower of life, your northern lights nut. In other words, that's your dome. That's where your stars are. In other words, your dome and your firmament, you have to separate it in your mind. They never said they were the same, and they're not. They show in the Flammarion. Let's show the Flammarion. It's in here soon.
Yeah, many, many layers.
In other words, it's layered. They tell you it's layered. They tell you the high heaven in every cosmology. They tell you it's layered, and we're going to. I am sorry. I'm scared to open and shut these to get to the wrong. But I think I have to wind up at the Flammarion because I know it's in this folder. This is playing with fluorescence and miroscopes and that. So the Flammarion tells you the stars are on the dome. You go to get out the dome. The black sun and the moon are in the firmament, and they hologram down, or they mirror down. The black sun ignites, and the thing it comes down as the sun and the moon. It does it in perfect phases. It tells you this, that when you look outside the dome into the firmament, in every cosmology, if I did what folders can I get to from here? If I did any type of like cosmology things, you'll see. Let's do any of the ones. You'll see they talk about above the vault, earth, the vault to heaven, the home of the gods. This is the firmament. This is the home of the gods. This is how, if you look at the ancient Hebrew conception of the universe, God is in the heaven of heavens. The waters above your firmament, they're getting this through. But in other words, it's a layer up here. There's the gate, the tree of life that you go through. Here is the earth and the sky. Here's your pillars. Your pillars, of course, are your 2 pillars that you set. And then, of course, the 4 pillars you do to stabilize you would set foundations at your four corners. I mean, if you see it, the apotheosis of George Washington, they're looking down through heaven. He's saying, I'm going to be a god. I'm going to look down through heaven, through the dome. Now, when you do this, and again, like you saw me layer those things, when you start layering these things and looking down through the top, everything is a magnifying glass. The Asgards took the rainbow bridge. They crossed that shiny bridge to get into heaven. The shiny bridge is the firmament. This is earth. This is the firmament. This is heaven. The realms, you have heaven 1 would be our sky. Heaven 2 would be the firmament. Heaven 3 is where the gods were. Sheol is where the underworld and the kingdom of the dead. This is where it's discordant. It's a density gradient. Your tree of life.
I was hoping you would show that one. Yeah, that's good. There's a division there. Yeah.
You want to take this one or?
No, go ahead.
On your Celtic tree of life. I don't know where you're going with the division. I just know that it calls me.
Back to Babylonian. You've got the division there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. On every chambers of heaven, they're putting them across instead of up, but they know that they're supposed to be there. The stars are on the dome, and they're trying to do it. The sun and moon do project into the dome, but they are in the firmament. That's where God placed them. He placed the stars on the dome on a different time. Every cosmology, the elves, the elves, I mean, take it through the elves that crossed the shiny river. And remember, this stuff is all always referred to as like liquid. It is a shiny river. It is a vault of looking glass. It is always shiny. And it is this: if you take a vault of looking glass, we should pay attention. You get a hologram emitter. It's just what happens when you do that. That's what the little thing that you put the frog in the middle of the dish. If you take a vault of looking glass, it creates a natural hologram. And again, a full spectrum hologram. What's really fun about this red is if you use two of the tops, now you have that little hologram emitter. And let's say instead of just having the hole that you drop the frog into, use two tops that both sides have holes. Because remember, you have your vortex running through the middle. Now, guess what happens when you hang something by a string down the middle? Or fill it with water and hang something by have it float in the middle? Right. Guess it projects, it makes the hologram as above, so below.
Yeah.
I'm talking, and I'm not shutting up, but again, on any of these things, this is what causes the lunar wave, but that's off topic. Inca, Norse, Hindu, Arabic, Navajo, we all show the same thing, and we all show the same thing: the dome, the firmament, and God.
Hebrew one, the one at the bottom left, that shows a lot of the division there, and the plurality of the layers.
Yes.
And then Book of Enoch, I'm not going to cite the scripture directly, but I think it's about 2/3 of the way through the Book of Enoch. It describes the heavens and the firmament as lightning energy and walls of crystal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a shiny. That, and again, it's always in the Egyptians. They held up the dome of the stars, but then they had to. What did they have to do to get to heaven? They had to go through the stars and cross the river. To get there. The same with the elves, the same with the Navajos, the same with, in other words, it's really, really in your face. We are programmed not to see it because of the fact that it's so Arabic. You can't go anywhere, Masonic, or you can't go anywhere and not find the same information.
We're programmed to receive.
Right.
That's where my nickname comes in, Goddess Nut.
Well, Cammie, notice the plurality of all this. You've got multiple gods and you've got multiple firmaments, right? I mean, that's so important to me. Did we lose her?
Well, did you lose me? I think I'm back.
Nope, there she's
back. Right.
Okay.
I see her clicking around.
Oh, I'll get out of it. I was even going because you can get into so many different areas. The pyramids, if you place over the Sephirot, the Great Pyramid, by the way, you'll notice that if you put like the main chamber or whatever across where our realm is, like where that little everything comes together on the Sephiroth, and you line it up, your descending passages and ascending passages are they mark your ways up and down through the it just tells you how to get around the realm. They are maps. They're maps to reality. I mean, that's a whole other world to do the Egypt ones, but they had a lot of very good information. Does anybody else want to talk for a while? Or
yeah, Cammie, you need to do series and multiple series on this stuff. I've got to dip out for tonight, and I love everything here. Josh and Walt, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out.
And it's certainly by no means is just a Josh and Walt enterprise. I mean, the whole team here, as you see, Cammie is blowing our brain away every time we get together. She and I go into Nerdville. Well, Zach as well. I mean, dude, yeah, it's a team for damn sure, and we love them all the way through. Anybody who can help us figure out a way to get this thing into a 3D rendering. Hello, Norb. What you doing out there?
I would love that.
Wouldn't it be amazing to have his level of technical expertise on it? But somebody at least to get it out of this format for you to make it more manageable to present, because it is definitely, I know, a struggle to try to go through 15 options of screen this and share that and tab over here. And yeah, so
I've
looked at it with the photo playing I can do with the limited access of stuff I have, and it's just not something I can make happen with what I have to work with. So we'd have to completely redo it in a 3D format somehow to manipulate it the way I see what you're saying in that inside the Seraphite. Yeah,
it all clicks in like little puzzle pieces. I see all of the pieces. I mean, I've been discarding and picking up pieces for so many years now, but I haven't organized it. But again,
well, you bring,
world. Oh, look at heaven.
Bring a new piece to it, and that's what's awesome. Look, Red, I know you got to go. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is Sheol, this is Earth, this is firmament, this is heaven. But okay, Red, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't let you talk when I invited you on our show.
No way. I mean,
I'm like the hostess with the worst.
You know what? It's not the quantity; it's the quality. And I'll be back. There's lots to discuss.
You certainly will, friend. I hope so. And as we said earlier before Baldini left, you are now here. You're welcome. Let us know when you're around and have time, because we're usually open door. Come on in.
Thanks. Well, definitely. It's going to be more and more. We should all buckle up and watch everything on 2X. Let's jump in.
John Savage's secret weapon. He tells us that every week, sir. So shout out to Savage. He's already tried to get us there. I do it occasionally. It definitely does help.
Gratitude to all. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Thanks much, Red.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
And we're pushing on, if I'm not insane, 5 hours. Is that correct?
I think it's time to take the headphones off and say goodnight. It's been a long day.
Yep. Y'all, thank y'all, everybody in chats, multipulous. I'm not sure where anymore because I closed restream. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're still good.
Okay. No, I'm saying that was the name I was... We'll have to figure out something different, because apparently when I came into it earlier, that's when everything restarted. I heard you saying it, but I couldn't get my audio up. So my apologies to everybody. Is Sita and Roxanne, are they still in the call? I see them. Are they still actually here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. It was amazing, as always. Get out there on that amazing, powerful scooter of yours. I'm talking to you, Rox. Sita, I know you're going to do that. It was so good. Please bring more. And anytime you want to come hang out, the door is as open to you, Asita, as it is to Rox, as it is to anybody else. You're a family, and part of the crew. Let us know when you want to come hang.
Oh, we love you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Zach, weren't we just talking about Scrooge McDuck's accountant the other day?
Yeah, he turns into Gizmo
Duck, hops on his motorized unicycle and just zips about doing his Gizmo Duck thing. Just going to put that out there, Sita. You need a big mech suit to go on top.
Everybody's channels should be in the description, unless I forgot to put Roxanne's channel. I bet I did. You know where to find Roxanne, damn it, on all her many places, but I'll put it in there. My apologies. I thought I had it there.
If you want to laugh, just Google Roxanne Glenn.
That's it.
Glen.
Right. You can find her personal troll. You can find.
Google me. Google me. I've made it big time. I've got a Google presence.
Yep. So, but yeah, go hit the Sita's channel. Go hit Red Fox's channel. Get those numbers up so they can start doing some live streams. We need to get this thing out there in more and more people's faces. Man, you guys rock. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right,
can't wait
guys.
to do it again.
Happy Friday.
This has been a long one.
Yeah, no, sorry guys, I was kind of catching up. So, no, thank you for having me on, and I really enjoyed talking you through the videos, breaking it down, and yeah, just listening to you guys as well tonight. Very interesting chat.
Yeah, we get kind of nerdy.
Yeah, no, you guys are like
life of its own sometimes.
No, but you guys are like geniuses. Like the stuff you come up. But what I like about it is that you explain the stuff and it's easy to grasp. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
It's not complicated. That's our goal. It's the world that makes it complicated.
That's why they keep
the world makes it complicated.
Around. If they can explain it to Josh and I at a level that can be understood, then anybody can get it. So.
And don't really ask Josh to explain it. Just accept that he's here drinking his coffee, smiling.
No, honestly, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
It was a blast having you twice. Now we've had you on both shows, both doors open. You know this, and you're welcome.
Yeah.
Get to Sita's channels, everybody, please.
Well, hopefully we'll have some more content. There'll be definitely more Will content. But in terms of if there's going to be a second wave and what's going to happen with that,
Really well shows on it.
We are on it. The Will's on it. So yeah, you'll definitely capture. Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't want. I definitely don't want there to be a second wave. I want to have a more optimistic outcome and see these cabal, being burnt or something. But we'll see. Yeah.
You have to stay tuned.
Definitely. Head on over there, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell notification too, so you'll know when she puts one up. And who knows, she may be going live. I'm telling you, a helmet with a 360
if the
cam.
Get arrested. Trust me, I'll be down there with my camera.
You get a helmet with a 360-degree camera on top of your helmet, a GoPro strapped to your chest, and at least one cell phone on you in your hand. Or something on a gimbal.
Every different angle. Even on the wheel as well.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Awesome.
Cool.
Love it.
Well, thanks so much, ladies. I guess we're going to get the hell out of here because it is pushing 5 hours. So I got this buddy on Facebook. His name is Paul Morris, and he did a cover of U2 in dedication of the people in Hong Kong and the things they're having to deal with the Chinese and their presence, and saying, hey, guess what? You're not really as autonomous as you think you are either. And he put the little video out on YouTube, and I really appreciated the passion behind it. So I wanted to go ahead and share it with everybody because I thought it was kind of cool. It's kind of one of the, he covers songs. It's cool, but I thought that he had enough about him to actually do this and dedicate this for the people of Hong Kong. I thought it was really, really nice, really interesting. So I'm just going to play this on the way out. Anyway, this has been another extended episode of Have No Fear. Kicking it old school tonight. Lots of guests, lots of time, big long show. But I'm off to the woods first thing in the morning. So hopefully I will come back rejuvenated because I got to tell you, today kicked my ass. So with that, I will see you all right back here next week. Or maybe we'll just see you over there on the TFR chat.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Cammie. Thank you, John.
Love y'all.
Love y'all. Thank you, Adam, out there.
Night, John boy.
Night.
Yeah,
Thank
love
you,
you.
Sita. Love you. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Iron Scouts. I saw you guys.
Thanks, chat as well. Thank you, everyone in chat, by the way.
Love it.
Night, John boy.
Eva, Don, Liz, all of my favorites. Love you guys.
Stop in for a pack of cigarettes. You don't smoke, don't even want to. Oh, hey now, take your change. Dressed up like a car crash. The wheels are turning, but you're upside down. You say when he hits you, you don't mind. Because when he hurts you, you feel alive. Hey now, is that what it is? Red light, gray morning, you stumble out of a hole in the ground, a vampire or the victim. It depends on who's around. Used to stay to watch the adverts. You could lip sync to the talk shows. And if you know you're recruiting and you're not wrong, you're talking me. And when I touch you, you don't feel a thing. If I could stay, then I would give you all. Stay, and the day would keep its strong. Stay, and the night would know. Far away, so close, up with the static and the radio, with satellite television, you can go anywhere. Miami, New Orleans, London, Belfast, and Berlin. And if you listen, I can come. And if you jump, you just might fall. And if you shout, I'll if I could stay, then I would give you up. Stay, then the day would keep its trust. Stay with the demons you drown. Stay with the lyrics I found. Stay, and the night would be enough. Oh, in the morning, it's quiet, and there's no one around, just the bang and the clatter as an angel runs to ground. Just the bang and the clatter as an angel hits the ground.
We made clear, Mr. Speaker, that if China continued down this path, we would introduce a new route for those with British national overseas status to enter the UK, granting
Be good.